1140 for all Raiders games. Plus, you can listen online at SactownSports.com and on the Sactown Sports 1140 app. The flagship.
Ball game. Sacramento wins.
KHTK AM and HD1 Sacramento. KYMX HD2 Sacramento. From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios. Sactown Sports 1140. The flagship station of your Sacramento Kings. It's the Carmichael Dave Show.
He's on the microphone. When he's not on the microphone, he's playing a song. And when he's not playing a song, he's on the microphone. And then whatever.
Jason Ross.
Jay, hey, my headset's
Text or call the show at 916-339-1140. It's the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross on Sactown Sports 1140.
I was sitting on my couch yesterday with my wife, and I turned to her, and she says, "What are you going to do on the show tomorrow?" I said, "Well, we've got the trade deadline. There's been Juan Soto trade, a few others." And we start talking about how, listen, this is the dry part of the year. Definitely some trade stuff to talk about, maybe a football thing here or there. And I said, but the shows generally just end up writing themselves days later. I've found through the years that the shows tend to write themselves in days like today. And as we're having that conversation, they announced that the great Vin Scully passes away. And I think I speak for everybody that although we are always after content this time of year, I would rather have absolutely zero content today and talk about the paint drying on the walls than talk about the passing of Vin Scully. Good morning, Jason Ross in studio, where I will be tomorrow, finally. J Mars behind the glass, and it's going to be an interesting perspective today, Jason. And I know everyone spent a ton of time yesterday thinking about Vin Scully, and I know that the three of us did, and it's interesting to have all the perspectives. Your perspective as a Yankee fan who grew up in Southern California and who is also a play-by-play voice, who has your perspective. Jay Mars, who is a lifelong Dodger fan, and Vin Scully was the voice of his youth, his perspective. And then my perspective as a lifelong Giants fan who hates everything about the Dodgers and by birthright, yet adored, I think, is the best word I can come up with.
Yeah.
Not just as somebody in the business, but somebody who is a sports fan, somebody who is a 49er fan, adored Vin Scully. So we're going to get a lot of perspective today, and I know I'm sure it hit you just as hard as everybody. What a loss.
Yeah. You were saying you'd rather describe paint drying, right? Like Vin could do it.
Right.
Like if anybody, like that's like a gift.
The most captivating paint drying explanation of all time.
Good, though.
When someone is 94, and the life that he lived is amazing. But that, Dave, like that one, I don't know. I was emotional last night.
I think a lot of people were, and I think it's okay because it's on the surface. What do you mean you've never met, or maybe you did barely meet, or whatever? It's not like Vin Scully was your uncle. Why would you guys get emotional over this? He was a play-by-play. He was awesome. He was great, but come on, it's not like a baby or something. No, here's where these things always come forward. You obviously all the surface stuff. He is iconic, and boy, we've been using that word lately. All the things you would say about Vin Scully, but when I firmly believe that when somebody like Vin Scully passes, who's 94, or somebody like Kobe Bryant passes, who was way before his time, or somebody like Bill Russell passes, who was not a part of our youth, but certainly a part of what we read, watched, and all that, it's a shot at your own mortality, and it's a left brain hip check that does not matter how rich, famous, how iconic, special, nice, whatever it is, we're all going to lose our heroes someday, and then someday we're going to pass off this earth. And
not Jose Canseco.
Say that again. Not Jose
Canseco.
Well, with everybody but Jose, it is certainly one of those things where just the thing that sucks the most about getting older, other than creaky knees and hamstrings, is you lose people. And guess what? We're going to lose many, many more people. But as we said with Bill Russell, if there is a air quotes bright side, boy, is it going to be the celebrations, much like what we're going to do today, and the memories of Vin, and the soundtrack really to a lot of our summer times.
Yeah, and I'm glad we've got a ton of audio today to play, and just to hear not only his greatness, but there's a quirkiness, but an adorable quirkiness to his storytelling. It also, Dave, I mean, obviously it was a different time, but he lived through the different time to our time, to this current time, and took us through that in where there was a time where literally, hey, some of these games aren't even televised, so he is the voice of it on radio or TV. From Jackie Robinson to Clayton Kershaw, I mean, come on, like
that's a range.
Yes, I mean, we're gonna hear Sandy Koufax no hitters to Gibson to Valenzuela, it's just the stuff he's seen that he took everybody through, past, present. And then baseball just lends itself to storytelling, and I do not think there's a better storyteller. There's just not than Vin Scully.
There's a tweet yesterday. I don't know who said it. I'm sorry, but somebody tweeted out, and it really hit me. It said, my father grew up listening to Vin Scully call Sandy Koufax his perfect game. When I was a boy, I grew up and was listening to Vin Scully call Fernando Valenzuela's no-hitter, and then my son, around the same age, listened to Vin Scully call, I think it was Clayton Kershaw's no-hitter. And it just, somebody in the chat is saying he raced Jackie Robinson on ice skates.
Right.
Like, that's the type of generation. And by the way, last night, silly me, I was going through a bunch of, we were all going through and prepping stuff for today. I did not realize, and shame on me, I didn't realize Sandy Koufax was still with us.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, the Sandy Koufax is a god amongst men. He's an almost mythical figure. And we have the audio, by the way, which we'll play later in the show, of Vin Scully calling Sandy Koufax's perfect game.
Sandy threw out a first pitch, I want to say it was just a few years ago, Dodger Stadium. So he's actually in pretty good health still, which is even more amazing. I want to go back to something you said at the start where, people are like, why is Vin Scully such a big deal? And you're like, well, never have met him. Allow me to live in the abstract here for just a quick second. I disagree with that. I texted my dad last night, right when I found out. My dad from Southern California, OG Dodgers fan. And I just texted him, Vin Scully passed away. And he wrote back, damn, that man got me through my childhood. Wow. And so I think there was a lot of people that are older than the three of us that did meet Vin Scully every night on a radio, and that was like,
yep.
It really was. It's just, you can't really relate it to today, but back, 50s, 60s, even in the 70s, it was a completely different time where, that was how some people either got through their childhood or they went to bed with that on in the background,
I think there are a lot of people that, it's the old, I woke up in the middle of the night last night to get a drink of water, and I noticed the light on, I noticed a glow in my daughter's room, and I went over there, and the glow was from her iPad because she was up at like 2 a.m. And of course, I grab her iPad, say, go to bed. What are you doing, ding dong? But I paused because today's phones and iPads are yesterday's flashlights, and it makes it sound really old, but we all did it. We all had a radio that we had in our bedroom, and we all had to go to bed sometimes in an extra inning game. And we all would listen to that, and maybe sometimes read along in a book on something having to do with sports under our covers, praying our parents wouldn't find us. But with or without the light, you had the voice, you had the soundtrack. And for anyone growing up, I grew up with Hank Greenwald and Ron Fairley, and then on to Dwayne Kuiper and Kruk and all those guys. And they're awesome, and I love them. They're not Vin Scully. Nobody is Vin Scully. Ernie Harwell wasn't Vin Scully. I mean, there's no comparison to Vin Scully. So you have really nothing you can. someday we're going to lose Al Michael. Someday we're going to lose Bob Costas. We lost Keith Jackson. You can just go through the list. Marv Albert, the greats and the greats and the greats. There's no comparison to Vin Scully.
Yeah, and again, I don't know, and we're going to hear him do football and some other sports too, but the baseball, the way it just works and the way he worked, and I know he worked with other people, but sometimes it just needed to be Vin.
Yeah.
And because he could do it, he could describe the game, sure, but it's what you learn, what he brought to the table, how he told the story of the game, of life. Just unique. I don't know any other way. I mean, that's how I grew up with him, listening to him hours upon hours, game upon game upon game, not even necessarily being a Dodger fan, but being a Vin Scully fan. And just, I tweeted this last night, Dave. I just thought that's what broadcasters were. I didn't really know any different when I was young.
Saw that.
And then as you get older, you go, wait a minute, he really is special. And not everybody is like him. And I think it took hearing other people or getting even away from LA at times to go, yeah, he's truly iconic.
I think the best job in the world would be to be on a broadcast with Vin Scully. Mm-hmm. And I think you nailed it, Jason. It's the best job in the world because you're working with Vin Scully. But anytime I ever heard anybody else on a broadcast with him, I felt like they were intruding. I felt like they were, no matter how good they were, it didn't matter who it was. It could be the best analyst in the world. There was something about Vin, and I said this last night. It's like the innings in baseball knew what to do when Vin was telling a story. They never ended early and cut him off. Seems like there was never a home run or a huge play. While the innings knew to go a little longer, or maybe wrap it up. And Vin would tell his story, and it made you feel like you were sitting on a couch or a chair on the porch, and he was just weaving a yarn for you.
Yeah.
That's a gift you can't duplicate.
Oh, yeah. And also the story, you're right, about the ending. Like, it didn't finish with 2 strikes with 1 out.
Right.
I don't know. It just timed with the innings almost every single time.
We have a lot of audio we've put together. In fact, I tweeted before the show. I'm hoping today's goal is to have Vin Scully speak as much or more than we do on today's show, just to give you a couple of ideas. We have Joe Davis, TBS, both announcing Vin's passing on the actual broadcast. Hank Aaron's home run record, the catch with Dwight Clark, a fan on fire during a Cowboy game.
Sure.
One of my favorites, Vin Scully talking about Madison Bumgarner saving a rabbit. We have about 6 minutes of him calling Sandy Koufax's perfect game. The Bill Buckner error. Johnny Gomes being attacked by a wolf. Vin Scully reading a grocery list. And, of course, the Kirk Gibson home run and so much more. So I hope you will join us today. Obviously, if you hear me, you already have. Sit back. We'll have a couple other sports things we'll throw in there because sports did happen yesterday. But this is a Vin Scully tribute show first and foremost. We'll be back in 1 minute with Leading Off.
You ask for more 49ers coverage, and Sactown Sports 1140 listen. Let's do it. It's time for Leading Off. Brought to you by Lasher's Elk Grove Dodge, where for over 60 years, their name means a great deal in Elk Grove Auto Mall and online at elkgrovedodge.com. Here's cut number 1.
Well, it's with heavy hearts that we pass along some really tough news. At the age of 94, Vin Scully has passed away. Born November 29, 1927. Fly ball to center field off of the bat of Brandon Belt. Bellinger to the wall, and I think one of the new Dodgers in the sky up to fall down to Cody Bellinger on the track. August 2nd, 2022, Vin passes away. Greatest ever to do it, 67 years as the voice of the Dodgers, the voice of baseball, and really will be both those things forever, not just the 67 years he was in the chair.
I guess it's a tribute to Vin Scully. That as a lifelong Dodger fan, I'm glad that Brandon Belt did not hit a home run there.
Yeah, during that announcement. Yeah.
That was obviously the Castellanos home run was about as different a circumstance as possible. But when you're dealing with something as earthquake massive as Vin Scully passing, really don't want the call interrupted by the opposing team's home run. And I liked at the end there the kind of kick save that the new Dodger in the sky maybe batted it down. It's weird. It's weird in a fun and way that puts a lump in your throat that Vin Scully's passing was announced during a Giants-Dodgers game. Dodgers-Giants game. That you can't make that up.
Yeah, we're going to do a ton of reflection today. I was thinking, Dave, when you're a kid, I don't know that you have even remotely a grasp of age, a true perspective. Because if you're 8 to 10, 50 years old seems like it's 500.
Yes.
So I remember being young and Vin Scully's this old man. I mean, I knew he was great, but he just seemed like he was so old when you're 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And, he was an older man at the time, but he had years and years and years left. To hear him do 67 years is phenomenal. And, still around the Dodgers too the last couple of years, which was pretty cool to see him at select games.
He was on Twitter.
Yes. And Vin got on Twitter. I mean, just the life he led and the through line from when he started to the finish is truly amazing.
The fact of the matter is that if somebody passes away at 67 years old, you go, oh, man, that's a little early, but it's not that far away. I mean, life expectancy for guys is what, 72, 74. He literally, Vin Scully called games for almost a human lifetime.
Yeah.
That is insane. And it is so rare in this world when, maybe I was meant to do this. Maybe I wasn't. Maybe I was meant to do something else, Jason. I'm sure you've thought the same thing. I like what I'm doing, but what if I was supposed to be a school teacher? I don't know, whatever, it is so rare and special when somebody does something and does it well. And you look at them and you go, this is exactly what you were born to do. And you did it your whole life and you did it amazingly.
Yeah. And people know it. And I don't know if he knew it, but whatever he loved it. And we have that bumper that says you and I have been here nearly 50 years or whatever.
Right. Combined.
I mean, you're at 20, I'm at 28. Like we're not even close to 67 on that. It's just crazy.
We have so much more on Vin Scully. And as we said in the last segment, we hope you will sit back and enjoy a lot of throwbacks, a lot of memories, so many sports classic moments that were narrated by Vin. In the meantime, cut number 2.
Cut number 2.
I'm good with no highlight, by the way.
Here's
Austin Slater hits a comebacker. This will do it. David grabs it, underhand toss. The ball game is over. Dodger fans everywhere suffered a loss tonight, but on the field, the Dodgers win.
Yeah, it was bittersweet for the Dodgers. You beat the Giants, but talk about bittersweet.
That's your sports hates back right there. It already came back.
Well, here's the sports hate. This is why I sighed, because I'm doing this. I didn't know how I really communicate this until I got on the air, which is always smart. Like, Vin Scully's an idol. I'm devastated like everyone at his passing. I'm enjoying, or going to enjoy, celebrating him. There is a part of me in my body right now that is trying to get to my brain and say, dude, come on, Dodgers got to win it all this year. I mean, that's how it's got to be. Like, they've got to win it all. And, they're going to have, I would imagine, a VS on the patch on their uniforms, and there's going to be all kinds of celebrations, and you got to win the whole thing for Vin Scully. And then the other massive part of my brain is like, what are you talking about? and it is kind of, we dealt with this a tiny bit with Kobe, and obviously different circumstances, but you had the sports hate of Kobe, but then when he passed, it was all, wish I had him on my team. With Vin, there was never I've never like, Vin Scully is a Dodger through and through, and I hate the Dodgers, but like, not once was I like, oh, Vin Scully, that guy.
It's interesting. I mean, obviously the ties to the Dodgers, and he did national baseball, but it felt like Vin was on everybody's team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he wasn't the Tigers announcer, he wasn't the Yankees or the Reds, but like, and we knew he loved the Dodgers. There's no doubt about that. But again, a gentleman, so likable, and obviously incredible at his craft. Just, I don't know. If you didn't like him, you had issues.
Wasn't he born a Giants fan in New York?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
We have the audio of him telling that story, actually.
So, is it okay if I think of him as Giants fan Vin Scully?
You know what? Today, that's fine.
Is that okay to say?
Will that make you in a good mood?
No, because Vin Scully passed away.
I just mean in general.
Yeah, no, it's, you know what, Jason, you're right. He is kind of everybody's announcer.
Yeah.
He really belonged to everybody. And yes, the Dodgers beat the Giants again, and blah, blah, blah. Number 3.
Cut number 3.
Eflin sets and deals. Swinging a high drive. Right field. Castellanos back. Forget about it. It is gone into the second deck. Number 14 for Soto makes it 4-0.
Oh, by the way, there have been multiple think piece articles that say the Juan Soto trade is the biggest trade deadline deal in baseball history. That's how big it is. A 23-year-old all-star under contract gets traded. There are some that say that the haul that the Nationals got is the biggest haul in trade history. That will remain to be seen. The Juan Soto deal was compared to the Babe Ruth deal I saw yesterday. That's how massive this thing is. Here's what I know. Imagine Bob Melvin like, wait, what? Okay. He's now got, when they're healthy, he's now got, amongst others, Fernando Tatis, Juan Soto, and Manny Machado in that lineup to go with a pitching staff that was already championship caliber. I think Bob knew a little something maybe when he left the A's over the summer.
Well, he knew the organizations were run differently, that's for sure. And yeah, I mean, I think I saw he's the first ever to be in their all-star year at the age of 23 or younger to be traded. So, I mean, it's a unique trade. The Padres are going for it. And it's also not just, hey, they're doing it like a rental. Like, this is going to be a fabric of their lineup along with Machado and Tatis for years to come. So the Padres are around for a while here.
We've got a lot more on that as well. I shouldn't say a lot more because this is a Vin Scully show, but we'll have more notes on that. We've got some football stuff going on too. Don't worry. We'll get to the top stories in the actual world of sports, but it's all Vin Scully. When we come back, we'll start our audio cavalcade of Vin Scully and really focus on our return on the actual announcement and these announcers having to announce the passing of a legend. Don't go away. We're right back.
You want more Kings coverage? Sactown Sports 1140's giving it to you.
I like the Monk deal a lot. The Kevin Herter one, you got control of a guy who around the league people still think he's a pretty good player.
Impressions, let's start with the Kings' top pick, Keegan Murray. What do you think of him? And you obviously knew him well at Iowa.
Yeah, I thought he was terrific. I called efficient and versatile. He's going to make shots. He's an elite jump shooter.
Log on to SactownSports.com for exclusive content. SactownSports.com.
Hey, it's Carmichael Day from my good friend Shelby at United
I think that's really crazy interesting. It's the Carmichael Day Show with Jason Ross on Sactown Sports 1140.
Well, it's with heavy hearts that we pass along some really tough news. At the age of 94, Vin Scully has passed away. Born November 29, 1927. Fly ball to center field off of the bat of Brandon Bell. Bellinger to the wall, and one of the new Dodgers in the sky. Up they'll fall down to Cody Bellinger on the track. August 2nd, 2022. Vin passes away. Greatest ever to do it. 67 years as the voice of the Dodgers, the voice of baseball. And really will be both those things forever, not just the 67 years he was in the chair.
Vin Scully was a student at Fordham University, and he announced basketball and football games while also playing center field for them as well. Fordham had an assistant football coach at the time, just for fun, named Vince Lombardi. And in April 12th, 1947, to be exact, Fordham took on the Yale Bulldogs. Yale won 3-1. Vin Scully played center field for Fordham, while the first baseman for Yale was George H.W. Bush.
Wow.
The anecdotes about Vin, he was the youngest, believe it or not, to ever broadcast a World Series game at 22 years old. I think I read he got something like $200 for it, was still living with his parents at the time. The umpires towards the end of his career, and in fact, I think they were doing it for decades. Every night before the players would take the field, the umpires would turn towards the booth and tip their caps to Vin. He actually got his break in 49, long after graduating Fordham. He was given the opportunity to play-by-play for a Maryland football game at Fenway Park. The press box was so overcrowded, he was forced to call the game from the roof. And despite near freezing temperatures and blustery conditions, he obviously did the broadcast fantastically, and that impressed a guy by the name of Red Barber, who was the voice of the Brooklyn Dodgers and a host on the CBS radio network. He recommended Scully for the Dodgers' number 3 broadcasting job. Jason, he went on to call 19 no-hitters.
Wow.
The first one being August 11th, 1950, when Boston Braves pitcher Vern Bickford no-hit the Dodgers.
Old Vern.
Yeah.
Notable no-hitters, obviously, Don Larsen's perfect game stands above all. Sandy Koufax's 4 no-hitters, including his perfect game. Clayton Kershaw's no-no in 2014. On and on and on we could go with the anecdotes on Vin Scully. It was certainly a life well lived.
Oh, no doubt. And again, 94 is full. There's so much there, but I think because kind of to what Jay read earlier about his dad and me growing up there, like everybody there's a connection, and that's what you want as a broadcaster. And he connected 2 people, whether that was someone 60 years ago to someone 15 years ago, 10 years ago. It's amazing that he had that ability to do that.
Vin Scully's favorite player did not wear Dodger blue. As a matter of fact, Vin Scully's favorite player is the San Francisco Giants, and that would be Willie Mays. What was really special is they visited with each other in the booth before Vin Scully's final game, and Vin said to Willie, quote, "You've always been my favorite player, even though you wore the wrong uniform." He actually, in 1973, hosted a daytime variety show called The Vin Scully Show on CBS with skits, celebrity interviews, stand-up comedy, and even singing. Prior to having his own show, he hosted It Takes Two, a daytime game show on NBC. And he, when Monday Night Football was started in 1970, ABC execs wanted to give that gig to Vin who said he was interested in the job, but it interfered with his Dodgers contract. He also said he was a little bit weary about the format of a 3-man booth. He said because of how football was going to be televised, you'd have 1 or 2 analysts now in the booth. I've been doing games with Jim Brown on one side, George Allen on the other, and there were times I wasn't sure who do I turn to first for an opinion. He did end up obviously turning down the Monday Night Football gig, but he did call a number of NFL games for CBS throughout the 70s and the 80s. You heard Joe Davis announce Vin Scully's passing. Game was also on TBS as well. And here's what it sounded like when they got the news of Vin's passing.
Now, we just got some rattling news here. The great Vin Scully has passed away. And if this is the first you're hearing of it, the Dodgers have issued a release on social media. Vin Scully has died today at age 94, an icon in the game. The reason me and many others even got into this business in the first place, and one of the all-time legends. Just shocking news. He was 94, but...
Yep. You know, Jason, in our business, the business of radio, we all become familiar at one point with a term called theater of the mind. You know, Don Geronimo, who used to host on this station, was a huge theater of the mind guy, and what does that mean? In an audio format coming through your speakers in the car, headphones, wherever you may be listening, radio, much like almost a book as compared to television, it forces you to imagine things. You imagine what the hosts look like. You imagine what's going on there in the studio, what's happening, and with the use of sound effects and music and all kinds of different things. A 2 or 3 person radio show with a proper producer can sound huge. It can sound amazing. You can tell
shots at me.
You can tell stories and you can weave segments and make them sound so much bigger. Vin Scully, I think, was the undisputed heavyweight champion of using theater of the mind to narrate you while listening, into really being able to close your eyes and see what was happening on the field through his voice alone. No sound effects, no music, just his voice, his tone, his intonations. There was nobody like that.
You know, it's interesting. I'm thinking then and this was never a situation I lived through with him, but because I always knew what he looked like. I mean, I saw him as much on TV growing up in LA as I did as hearing him on the radio. So kind of a 50-50, but I knew what he looked like in commercials and Farmer John and all the stuff he used to do. But imagine those early years for him that people maybe didn't know what he looked like and literally heard him on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what image people had of him from all that great storytelling and great description of games, just when you don't maybe know it, there's no Google, there's no internet pictures of him. What did he look like to people in their mind? That would have been interesting to find out.
That is interesting, because I'll bet you it was nothing like he looked.
Yeah.
He looked so young back then, but just had such a
to be fair, he looked young for his 90s.
He did.
True.
He always did. And it's funny about Vin too, when you talk about going through the generations. Like, Vin literally called games in an era where, when you see other clips from that, like if you were to pull news clips from 1950, whatever, like, swear to God, I'm not making a joke. Most of the people sound like, and in other news today, and then over here, and he yes, because of the recording, I think his voice in earlier broadcasts sounds a little bit higher. There's different tonations in there, et cetera, but I think a lot of that is just the quality of the tape. Vin's voice sounded just about the same in 2010 as it sounded in 1970, and that is, I don't even know how you do that. He was a man out of time.
I feel like it was just that relaxed delivery. I don't think Vin ever strained his vocal cords, no matter the excitement of the moment.
Right. Vin was as the term in the industry, he's not a puker. Like, there's not a fake over the top, hey everybody, like he just talks, and he delivered it in a beautiful, beautiful way.
It would be an incredible conversation, and we'll have that today. The Mount Rushmore of Vin Scully moments that he was on a mic for. There is no doubt that one of those moments was Hank Aaron breaking the home run record. As we continue our tribute to Vin Scully, we'll have that audio for you right after this.
Sactown Sports 1140 is broadcasting live on YouTube.
To me, it's a must-watch.
Check out the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross and the Cattles and Rami Show. Plus, get exclusive content. Search Sactown Sports 1140 on YouTube. The Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross. Text or call the show at 916-339-1140 on Sactown Sports 1140.
Vin Scully passes away at 94. That will obviously dominate our show, as it should, and I would think just about every. I think a good goal for today, it would. This is an impossible thing, but if somebody goes, man, that's enough Vin Scully for a day, I think everybody's done their job, and it's still impossible to do. Vin Scully could read the yellow pages, Jason. I think we'd all be captive audience.
Well, we've got something similar to that a little bit later in the show of what Vin elected to do during a broadcast. I got this tweet when it brought that up in the last segment, David. Said, you asked what people thought about without knowing what he looked like, how they pictured Mr. Scully. I always imagined him look like the announcer from Major League, Bob Uecker, when I was younger. So maybe they had not seen Vin and only heard him, but that's funny because we all, I mean, to me, I knew what Bob Uecker looked like and I knew what Vin Scully looked like, but if you hadn't, maybe that would be maybe your description.
And that's the thing, is that I really do think comparing a radio broadcast to a book as opposed to a television broadcast is apropos here, because it did there. Listen, we all, if it's radio versus TV, odds are people are going to choose television. I get that, unless of course it's Sactown Sports 1140, like the football game tomorrow, Jacksonville versus the Raiders. Of course, you want to listen to that on the radio, but outside of that, I think a lot of people would pick television because it's an easier thing, because the TV screen does for you what needs to happen. Much like reading a book, you're forced to use more of your brain there. And a lot of people, you've heard the term, well, the TV or the movie's not as good as the book. And in many cases, Jason, the movie is not as good as the book. But I've always felt like part of the reason the movie is almost never as good as the book is that I don't care how much CGI you have. I don't care the special effects you have. It's never going to be able to duplicate the CGI and special effects you have in your own imagination. And when it comes to sports, if you have the right announcer, it's the same thing. I think the best announcers are almost like umpires. You almost don't even know they exist. They just provide the drum beats, the backbone to what you're listening to. And the best ones are the ones that know when to speak and they know when to shut up. At 7:44 in that segment, we're going to play the final inning of Vin Scully calling Sandy Koufax's perfect game. And I'll remind the audience when we get there, but the thing that always fascinated me about that call, and you could apply this to the Kirk Gibson call, after Sandy Koufax struck out the final batter, and Vin Scully, I think he says something like, perfect game, Sandy Koufax. It's something very simple and easy. 41 seconds pass on the radio before he says a word. 41 seconds when you say it out loud doesn't seem like a lot. On a broadcast, it's forever, Jason. And the amount of you've done play-by-play countless times. To sit there and count to 41 and not say anything. I mean, you almost would have a producer in your ear saying, did we lose connection? What's going on? Are you okay? It takes a ton of discipline to do that. And that was Vin's regular thing.
Yeah, I don't know that I've had a situation where I've called a game big enough on the radio, let's say, or had a moment large enough that I really did want to try something like that, because I think that's one of the charms of TV. You can't say anything better than the images that we're all seeing. But on radio, you kind of have to fill in the description, but how long can you go? How much crowd noise can be behind you to realize, you probably described the win, whatever happened in that moment that has that home arena or home stadium going nuts. How long can you let that go on radio? 41 is an eternity.
Well, how many announcers could you honestly say, if you gave me a choice between watching a game that Vin Scully was calling or listening to a game that Vin Scully was calling, I'd rather listen. I would truly rather listen. There were times, because I have family in LA, and I'm sure a lot of people can share this story. I don't know what it was, but like for some reason, coming back up from LA, some of those LA stations that weren't Clear Channel stations, mind you, these were just 50,000 watt stations. Some of those LA stations, you would be able to get all the way up to like Elk Grove. And there was probably 2, 3, 4 times that I was able to catch, because there's, this is before satellite radio and blah, blah, blah. And I'd catch a Dodger game. I don't know who the heck they were playing. And you were lucky enough to get Vin on the call. And it is an indescribable feeling to be in it. And I hope there's others out there that have experienced this. Nice day outside. You're on I-5 or 99, windows open, and you've got Vin Scully on the radio describing a game for you. There's nothing that makes a drive go by quicker than a Vin Scully called baseball game.
Yeah, I don't know if you knew this. I'm trying to think if you did, Dave, but our first boss here, Mike Ramey, who brought us both in at different times. I remember there was one year, whether it was I think the station was trying to maybe get Giants rights, something like that. And there was a battle there. Didn't have the A's at the time. And I know Mike, you thought differently sometimes or outside the box. He's like, what about getting the Dodgers? And, it's almost like, wait, why would we carry the Dodgers? There'd be some hate and venom to that because it's LA and we're Northern California and there's Giants fans, A's fans. But also part of that was, one, there are Dodger fans up here too. It was, he literally discussed, we'd have Vin Scully on the air every night.
Right.
It's like, well, there's some genius behind that too. It ultimately never happened, but it certainly was a thought that was crossed of, what if we're a Dodgers affiliate up here?
I absolutely despise the idea, and I told Mike that. I absolutely remember, and this was young in my career, but would joke with him like, dude, you're going to get riots here. Like, are you kidding me? You cannot put the Dodgers on a Sacramento radio station. And he said the exact same thing, Jason. He said, well, he goes, well, first of all, say we're going to get a number of Giants games if we do this, perhaps as well. And he goes, and secondly, what's better than Vin Scully calling baseball? And I had no response for that one.
True.
How do you respond to that?
Right.
Like, yes, of course, there's a lot of Dodger fans in the area. That's fine. Like, Jay,
we should revisit that conversation.
It's not too late.
I have a meeting with Nick on Friday. I'll bring it up.
No, that's the point. It is too late because the only reason you would have done it, the main reason you would have done it was because of Vin. And apologies, Joe Davis, and apologies to the great Charlie Steiner. But there's no one. I am a Kruk and Kipe disciple. I love them. They are my favorite baseball announcing team there is. And even I can say, not that you should compare, but you're it's chess and checkers.
Yeah.
There is no comparison. And part of that was Vin's legacy, and part of that was Vin having seen it all. Like this next clip right here, one of the biggest moments in baseball history, and of course Vin was on the call announcing Hank Aaron breaking the great home run record.
1 ball and no strikes. Aaron waiting, the outfield deep and straight away. Fastball is a high drive into deep left center field. Buckner goes back to the fence. It is gone. Marvelous moment for baseball. What a marvelous moment for Atlanta and the state of Georgia. What a marvelous moment for the country and the world. A black man is getting a standing ovation in the Deep South for breaking a record of an all-time baseball idol. And it is a great moment for all of us, and particularly for Henry Aaron, who was met at home plate not only by every member of the Braves, but by his father and mother. He threw his arms around his father, and as he left the home plate area, his mother came running across the grass, threw her arms around his neck, kissed him for all she was worth. As Aaron circled the bases, the Dodgers on the infield shook his hand, and that was a memorable moment. Aaron is being mobbed by photographers. He is holding his right hand high in the air, and for the first time in a long time, that poker face of Aaron shows the tremendous strain and relief of what it must have been like to live with for the past several months. It is over. At 10 minutes after 9 in Atlanta, Georgia, Henry Aaron has eclipsed the mark set by Babe Ruth.
Anyone else picture that? Anyone else picture Aaron running around the bases, getting the handshake, the people pouring out onto the field, the scene at home plate that we've all seen? Jason, I'm listening to that, and I can see it all in my head.
Absolutely. And then the beauty of that, and one of my favorite things about that whole thing is capturing the moment, right? Hey, you're a Dodgers announcer. Why aren't you a homer? Like, he realized how great and significant of a moment it was historically for baseball, for the Braves, for Aaron. It was against the Dodgers, but what sounded like he called it for the Dodgers, which is, again, back to his greatness. He's calling it for everybody.
More on that when we get back. We'll also have a quick note from the NFL, another big injury in the NFL in this. We haven't even gotten to preseason yet. And then we'll get back to Vin Scully, including a couple of Cowboy clips, one involving the 49ers, the other one involving bursting into flames, as we continue to salute Vin Scully. We'll be back right after this.
Check out the Golf to Go Hour with Frank LaRosa every week on Sactown Sports 1140. Get the latest on equipment, area courses, people that play the great game, and plenty of good conversations about golf. It's the Golf to Go Hour with Frank LaRosa. Friday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturday morning from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Sactown Sports 1140. Golf to Go is brought to you by the Hagen Oaks Golf Super Shop, America's most awarded golf facility, and Naturewood Home Furnishings, where it's all about choices and always about quality, and Safe Credit Union. Let us put you first.
Microphone when he's not on the microphone, he's playing a song, and when he's not playing a song, he's on the microphone, and then
boom with Jason Ross.
Jay, hey, my headset's.
Text or call the show at 916-339-1140. It's the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross on Sactown Sports 1140.
Back to Vin Scully in just a second. Some football notes real quick. The Denver Broncos have not had luck when it comes to wide receivers and knees. And they went through it last year. Now they're going to go through it again this year. Their leader in touchdown catches last season, Tim Patrick, season-ending torn ACL. He caught a pass during team drills. And as he turned to run upfield, his leg buckled. He grabbed his knee. Several teammates, including Cortland Sutton, along with Russ Wilson, surrounded him, and just absolutely devastating to anyone, but to that team in particular, and that player. Very, very, very well respected.
Yeah.
And that puts them behind the eight ball for sure.
You know he had to be fired up to have a full season with Russell Wilson.
Oh,
man, that just stinks.
The Miami Dolphins were notified by the NFL yesterday they will be stripped of their 2023 first-round pick. Following a 6-month investigation, the league found, we talked about tampering yesterday in the NBA. Stephen Ross, the owner, along with Vice Chairman Bruce Beal, went way over that. They violated that anti-tampering policy on 3 occasions between 2019 and 2022, having conversations with quarterback Tom Brady and the agent for then Saints coach Sean Payton. However, the NFL found no evidence the team intentionally lost games during the 2019 season, which was alleged by ex-coach Brian Flores in his ongoing lawsuit as well. In addition to the first-round pick, the Dolphins also will forfeit their 2024 third-round selection. And here's an interesting note for the both of you. With both Stephen Ross and the vice chairman now out and suspended for the near future, according to the website, when you look at the pictures and the order they are in, the ranking decision-making partner for the Miami Dolphins is Fergie.
No.
Yep.
Wow.
It's Fergie. Amongst the partners in the Miami Dolphins, Fergie, Mark Anthony, Serena Williams, and Venus Williams. Fergie is ranked the highest when you look down at the pictures on their website, just below Stephen Ross and the other guy, Bruce Beal. So is Fergie now making decisions for the Dolphins? Probably not, but it is kind of fun to think about that.
Her humps.
Lovely lady lumps.
Yes.
I want to re-rack real quick because we have more calls here, but just something about the Hank Aaron call. Yeah, you know what? We don't need to re-rack it, Jason. We can talk it through. First off, it was the pause after.
Mm-hmm.
The call itself, his tone was the same then as it is now.
Yep.
The audio quality is different, but Vin's voice is the same. You get through the call, you get through the pause so you could soak it in, what they call laying out. And then imagine being Vin Scully even in those times, which we're not talking about the 40s or 50s, but still, things were still quite hot back then. And for him to talk about a black man getting a standing ovation in the Deep South, and for Vin to, I don't even want to say have the stones to do that, because quite honestly, I don't think it occurred to Vin at all that was courageous. Yet I would bet a lot of money that Vin Scully and the network got quite a few letters, and he just didn't care. It was the right thing to say, the right thing to do, and you couldn't have a proper call on Hank Aaron breaking Babe Ruth's record without mentioning that.
Yeah, and it just ties like our society and history together, along with the moment and significance of the baseball record, all in one.
Yeah, it was. I've never had much interest, nor mainly because I think I'd be terrible at doing play-by-play. Jason, you've done play-by-play for a very long time at professional and major league levels, in addition to your college work as well. I got to think there's not a play-by-play person alive, at least in America, that hasn't taken cues and studied Vin Scully and tried to emulate him in some form.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, it's what you grow up. It's what you know. I thought that's how every broadcaster sounded, and obviously he's unique. He's a one of one. And I haven't done as much baseball, but when I did baseball, I realized even more how gifted he was. Like, there is a lot of filler, and the fact that he had the anecdotes and the stories and could tell them in a compelling way is a gift beyond belief. I mean, it's just, I think we all could describe the game to some sense, but to make it compelling, enriching the broadcast and telling the stories of the athletes or even just the time in our lives is just a gift that he had. I don't know any other way to say it.
Well, when we talk about his gifts, and there were so many, one thing, and we'll hear this throughout the show, one thing that was such a gift for him is, you have announcers, let's just be honest, it's their style, and I don't hate him for it. You have announcers that, one of the announcers I enjoy the most is Gus Johnson. College basketball, yeah. Gus Johnson, he's awesome. And I say that because I don't want this to sound disrespectful, but Gus Johnson inserts himself into the call.
Right.
It's a Gus Johnson call, and he uses his tone and inflection and excitement to get an emotional reaction out of the listener. Vin Scully is a polar opposite. Vin Scully was background. Vin Scully was paint on the walls. Vin Scully was, as we talked about before, the bass line, the drum beat, and had this ability to blend in. So when he would tell his stories, a less gifted announcer would be telling a story about Madison Bumgarner, for example, or Johnny Gomes, which we'll hear both later. And you'd have people saying, dude, call the game. What is going on? I don't care. Give me some stats. Do something. I don't care about any of this. Shut up. Call the game. I don't think a single person ever in the middle of Vin Scully calling an inning and interweaving the play-by-play with the pauses, the natural pauses in baseball that he would fill with his anecdotes, I don't think a single person ever thought in their lives, hey, Vin, get on with the game.
Yeah, I know. I never did. I mean, just again, how he could do it and did it so beautifully and keep it interesting, I think, is the challenge. Yes. And he did.
We talked about his baseball calls. You mentioned he could do play-by-play pretty much on anything. I think Vin Scully could have pulled off lacrosse, high-a-lie, didn't matter. He would have been able to figure it out. But one thing that tied Vin Scully to so many people, he wasn't just Dodgers. He was so many things. And for me, one of my very first memories of my sports youth, I remember this play more from Vin Scully's call than I do anything that happened back in, 80, 81. Here's the audio. One of the greatest plays in football history, unless you're a Cowboy fan. 49ers, Cowboys, playoffs, and the late, great Dwight Clark jumps higher than he's ever jumped in his life.
3rd and 3. The right side, possibly. Montana looking, going in the end zone. Caught it! Dwight Clark!
Lays it out.
It's a madhouse at Candlestick with 51 seconds left. Dwight Clark is 6'4". He stands about 10 feet tall in this crowd's estimation.
You could spend a lifetime watching that clip. You could spend a lifetime trying to come up with the perfect thing to say, and you wouldn't come up with something as good as Dwight Clark stands 6'4", but is 10 feet tall in the estimation of this crowd, or whatever he said. I probably flubbed it. It was perfect. It was a perfect call. Montana looking. I mean, there's so many things you can get lost in the verbiage of the whole thing, but he had this ability to truncate his verbiage to where you got no fluff. You only got enough of what you needed. And then the completion, he lays it out. Just absolutely flawless.
Yeah, just delivered it in a way that we all understood it. It's not about him, to your point earlier, but in the end, it's he doesn't make it about him, but you feel like you want to be connected through him because of the way he described it so beautifully.
And it doesn't work when, if other announcers, and I'm sure it's fine, we'd be like, he caught it, oh my God, he caught it. And then, of course, what was missing from that call too was an ex-offensive lineman going, oh my God, he caught it, and stepping all over Vin. That's why it always felt like an intrusion, and you got to tip your hat to the executives who rarely needed to stick somebody in or wanted to stick somebody in with Vin Scully. I love how we're like basically air checking Vin Scully today. It's like watching Picasso paint, man. We'll take a break. When we come back, we've got 3 for Madness. It's obviously a Vin Scully themed 3 for Madness. It's a very short break. Count to 60. We're right back.
Live and past broadcasts of the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross and Cattles and Rami. Interviews, podcasts, and more. They all live on the Sactown Sports 1140 app. Download the app now in the App Store and Google Play.
This is Jaron Kenny from Bell Brothers Plumbing, Heating, and Air with another good deed for free. Our technician Brian was performing a tune-up recently where he noticed their furniture was all over the place, like they were trying to rearrange it. After the tune-up, he asked if they needed any help with the furniture, and they perked right up. They had a California King mattress that was just too big for the two of them to budge. Brian jumped at the chance to help, and he manhandled the mattress down the hall, into the bedroom, into the precise location they wanted it, and the box spring too. The client was thrilled and said afterward that they had seen the Good Deeds for Free commercial, but figured it was just a gimmick. Nope, Good Deeds for Free is the real deal. Give Bell Brothers a call, and we'll do a good deed for free for you, too. Call Bell Brothers at 916-444-1234, or you can find us online at theNoSurpriseGuys.com.
The No Surprise Guys, Bell Brothers.
3 questions, 3 answers. It's 3 for Madness on the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross. Question 1.
Pitch back to Dorsett. The first man to come up and slow him down was Nate Wright. He tried to jitterbug around Nate, and that took up too much time. Meanwhile, a difference of opinion down below. A problem of some kind down below. And there it is. A blanket, evidently, and inadvertently catching on fire. The person, and at first they told us a blanket. My goodness, it's a man. And anything can happen in Texas. Woo! Well, you might take a moment or two out from this ball game, and your prayers would certainly be appreciated for that poor soul being taken out. The gentleman who, one way or another, was on fire, as you saw. In the world could something like that happen to him. And pray for his welfare. 2nd and 7 from the 13.
The man is on fire. 2nd and 7 from the 13.
Okay, so my favorite part is like the beginning where it's like a difference of opinion.
Yeah.
Right.
I know in today's society, there's a lot of differences of opinion, but dare I say it's better that people like fight on Twitter over a difference of opinion than set each other on fire like they did in 77.
Agreed.
Dude, and that dude was like, that looked like out of an Airplane or Hot Shots movie.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't just like, it wasn't like his elbow had a flame. Like that fool was full on fire. And Vin did a great job calling it, as always, letting it lay out.
The 70s, am I right?
You are. All right, we got a question here. Question number 1.
Sir. If you could have had Vin Scully leave a voicemail on your phone for everybody to hear, what would you have wanted him to say?
Oh gosh, there's so many things that you could have fun with this, but I think it would be, for me, it would be something like, I would have him say, hello, and a very pleasant good day to you wherever you may be. When you think about things that are improbable, the impossible has happened. Dave is away from his phone. Leave a message and have a wonderful day.
That's pretty good.
That's actually really good.
It would have to be something like that.
I in my mind, when I thought I would have 100% the most trust in Vince. Like, just go. Right. And I don't even know what he would say, but what you just said is probably what he would say.
I think
so, because I would hate to go, hey, Vin, I wrote this out. I think what I wrote is better than anything. No, I would just go, if you have the kindness in your heart, can you leave a 10 to 15 second voicemail? Because I think it would be the greatest voicemail ever, and go.
Okay.
Jay.
Guys, how many times have the Sacramento Kings broken the great Gary Gerald over the years?
A few. Yeah. Too many.
I would put together a 3-minute lowlights of Sacramento Kings over the years, have Vin call them like he's calling play-by-play, and see if they could break him. I think they could.
You start getting a swearing Vin Scully.
We were actually talking, Jay and I were off the air, about how, Gary Gerald is the closest thing we have to Vin Scully, to a Chick Hearn, to he's just been the soundtrack of the Kings. And, God forbid, I think I'm taking the day off whenever we have to have this conversation, hopefully 30 years or 40 years from now, about Gary. But the funny thing about it is, just to give you an idea of how long Vin's been around, is, I don't want to speak for him, but I'm pretty confident in saying that Gary probably also idolized Vin Scully in the business, and to Vin, Gary still is a hey, you're doing well, kid, keep it up.
Yeah, we were saying if there's anyone that could air check Gary Gerald, it would have been Vin Scully, and Gary would have listened.
Yes, absolutely,
absolutely. Number 2.
Question 2.
The Padres have never won a World Series. Now, they've been there in 84 and I want to say 98.
Yeah.
If they don't in the next 3 to 5 years, how will they ever win one?
They won't. They won't ever win one. Dude, Machado, Soto, Tatis to go with that lineup. They just got Josh Hader. They've got Bob Melvin. Are you kidding me? Like this, I don't know. Right. Like, I don't know if they're better than the Dodgers, but I will tell you this. If my Giants are out of it, I'm rooting for them. There's nothing. I have no hate in my heart for the Padres. They've never done really anything to me or my team.
Yeah, because they've sucked.
Right. And that's the thing. It's like, who are your favorite teams? The San Francisco Giants and whoever's playing the LA Dodgers. And once my Giants are officially out of it, I am go Pods.
Yeah,
let's go. Give me a hat and everything.
Go ahead, Jason. Then I kind of want to ask a sidebar. What the hell did the Giants do yesterday? Go ahead though first, Jason.
Yeah,
no, they did stuff.
The thing that I would say about the Padres, I don't if they can't do it here, because all the things Dave said, the quality manager, quality players all up and down the board, and they've been aggressive last year, this year. They're not going to throttle down anytime soon when you add Machado. And you have Tatis, and you have now Soto. Like, they're gonna, if they miss this year, and if they don't win next year, like, they're going to keep trying to find the pieces to get them over the top. So they're going to be super aggressive.
Yeah, first of all, screw the Padres.
Yeah, whatever.
I mean, keeping the Dodgers away from a superstar is just.
I know.
Boy.
It's wow.
You okay?
It was a super tough day for them.
Between that and, Vin passing, it was a rough day for Dodgers fans.
You know what you are? You are the sports fan equivalent of when we talked to Kevin Nagel and he was flying commercial Hawaii. And we all felt bad for him. Like, that's who you are.
So you feel bad for me this morning?
Oh, Jay. Oh, you didn't get a generational superstar for once. Oh.
It's just unreal, but it's fine. It's whatever. Listen, if the Padres don't, again, I think you guys both answered it. If they don't win in the next 3 to 5 years, given the level of talent they have on that team, they're just never winning. Yeah, and you should just never be a Padres fan at that point.
Number 3.
Question 3.
Put your sports hate away. Put it away now. And go ahead and do it, David and Jason. LA Dodgers Mount Rushmore. Go.
How big of a piece of garbage do you have to be to piggyback on the passing of an absolute legend to prop up your team and force us to be in a position to do that which we do not?
I didn't ask the question. Well, I didn't write the question. I asked.
Oh, is it
I
Jason?
didn't write it. Jason wrote that.
You know what?
Are you calling it a piece of garbage?
This is
you called Jason Ross a piece of garbage live on the air.
No, I didn't. I asked a question. I said, how big of a piece of garbage do you have to be? And you know what the answer is? Not at all. It's a wonderful question. All right, I got your Dodgers Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
Brett Butler, Jeff Kent.
Come on.
Turning him off for a quick second. I'm going to let him take a pause, take a deep breath, and come back. You want to try that again?
I mean, that's a hell of a Mount Rushmore. The Mount Rushmore now, we're not counting Vin Scully, are we? Or
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just
Vin Scully.
organizational.
It might just be one.
Oh, then it's. I think it's fairly easy. I think it's. There's one that's not. All right, Scully, Lasorda, Koufax, and then you got to decide between Drysdale and Valenzuela. Flip a coin.
Oh, okay.
Okay, mine was those
What?
three that you said,
Go ahead, Jason.
and then Jackie Robinson.
Thank you.
Oh God.
What kind of piece of garbage do you have
Skips
to be?
over Jackie Robinson. No, I just want to know how that happened. Explain your train of thought here.
Good calling, Fernando.
Buddy man.
This is why you don't do this off the top of your head. Like, oh, it's easy. Oh, wait, what about the guy whose number is retired everywhere? Okay, allow me to.
Home run king Jackie Robinson, you left out.
Allow me to.
And then Brett Butler.
Yes.
Allow me to correct. All right, so you got Vin, Jackie, not necessarily in that order, but Vin and Jackie, I think, stand above all. You have to have Tommy Lasorda.
Yeah,
in
I feel
there.
Who just passed away last year, too.
Right, and then I'd say Koufax, probably, right?
I think that's it. It's probably that's.
I think the only one that could knock on the door there on Koufax's door, because I agree, it's the first three, and then that one. I'm 95% sure it's Koufax, 5% Kershaw by the time he's done.
I mean, there's probably a numerical argument, and I'm sure somebody could, but dude, Sandy Koufax is Sandy.
I know.
Koufax.
Again, I said 95% with a 5% little love for if they ever add a fifth person to Mount Rushmore, like Kershaw, then to me would be that guy for the Dodgers.
Kershaw, Garvey, any chance of Garvey? Or is that not
Garvey's, legacy really got stained after the whole cheating scandal came out with him and Cindy in the early 80s. Yeah. You had to be in LA. My dad had told me all about that. You had to be in Southern California and understood what the Garvey family meant to Southern California.
All right. Let's do honorable. Let's do Mount Rushmore. They carved out a Mount Rushmore below the Mount Rushmore.
Well, that's
okay.
Interesting.
So a goatee of the Mount Rushmore.
So the backside is just the back of their heads?
It's Mount Rush.
So you've got Drysdale.
Yeah.
You've got Valenzuela.
Yeah.
No?
Hershiser?
I mean, you can talk about
Garvey?
Hershiser and Kershaw. I'm trying to find a way, speaking of people who just passed away, I'm trying to find a way where we could put, God, I just had his name too. The dude in the hat that held the radar gun.
Oh, yeah.
I remember him I was fascinated by this man every game when I was a kid, whenever the Dodgers played the Giants, and every single pitch. This guy, it was usually a Valenzuela thing. I don't know if he did it for every pitcher, but he was standing up in his big straw hat and his white suit, holding the gun.
Duke Snyder?
Duke Snyder's a good
Walter
one.
O'Malley?
Oh my God, Duke Snyder.
Drysdale.
Yeah, you kind of have to have Snyder and Drysdale on the second rung.
Snyder, Drysdale, Kershaw.
You just want to put Kershaw. Let's say this.
Okay, is Clayton Kershaw not the best pitcher of the last 15 years overall?
Well, sure, yeah, but
that's a huge chunk of time.
I think we should ban current players then, because it's just
why?
Because he won't be current forever.
Yeah, he'll be not current in 2 years.
Well, that's fine. And when
we'll start the carving.
Pee Wee Reese, Big
Shep.
Shep.
Pee Wee Reese is a really good one.
Pee Wee's a hell of a nickname too.
Yes.
Depends.
He's on the smaller Mount Rushmore.
Hey guys, all right, seriously.
I see what you did there.
Real quick, rank them most embarrassing to super embarrassing, but not the most embarrassing.
Okay.
All right. Calling Mark Jones, Mark Jackson.
Oh no.
Yeah, that was
you weren't
last
here
week.
For that.
I know, right? Calling Pete Rose.
It's over.
Calling Pete Rose the home run king to his ear, and having him correct you on live radio, or doing a Mount Rushmore of Dodgers and not remembering to put Jackie blanking Robinson in there.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead. Most embarrassing to me is Jackie Robinson. Bro,
More
that should
than
be
the Pete Rose?
Yeah, Jack. Like how anyone leaves Jackie Robinson off?
That's horrible.
What did Mark Jones say, by the way?
He laughed.
He was
It made
off.
Dave
He
feel
laughed.
better.
He even texted me off air after because I texted him. I was like so apologetic, and he was like, "I get called Mark Jackson like 5 times a week." And the problem was, I was reading something. We were I forget what the subject was, but I had Mark Jackson's name in front of my face, and so when I reset the interview, I was like, "Mark Jackson," and Jay Helperton, thank God, I was in my ear. I was like, "Oh, it's Mark Jones." And of course, I do a whole thing on I'm not going to just roll over that. He was very nice about it, which almost made me feel worse. It's like I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah,
like, he wasn't even disappointed.
Hey, really fast, just fact checking for us on the show. What does 27 more wins, a better ERA, and 400 more strikeouts do for you? That's Clayton over Sandy Koufax, by the way.
Sandy Koufax retired at 21 years old. I mean, that's it. I mean, Sandy Koufax.
Another fact check we need to get to.
Approximately.
Or 30.
We'll take a break. Let's see. We've got a lot more audio, including when during the broadcast when Kruk and Kipe found out about Vin passing.
Jackie Robinson played for the Dodgers?
You know what? That's just not going to go away, is it? We're back right after this.
Sactown Sports 1140 is your home of the Las Vegas Raiders for the 2022 NFL season. Tune your dial to 1140 for all Raiders games. Plus, you can listen online at SactownSports.com and on the Sactown Sports 1140 app.
This is Monster Jam, the official Monster Truck Series. Witness the world's best drivers competing in your favorite Monster Jam trucks, like Gravedigger, Megalodon, and more. Who's ready for more racing? Witness exciting head-to-head competition. Be part of the action. Let's hear it. Make some noise. Tickets on sale now. Returning to Golden One Center August 5th through 7th. Opening night tickets start at $15. Restrictions and additional charges may apply.
Everyone loves to be outside, and so do mosquitoes. Protect yourself against mosquitoes and West Nile virus by following these simple tips. At least once a week, look around your yard and drain stagnant water from any containers where mosquitoes can breed. Remember to use an effective mosquito repellent, especially at dawn and dusk when mosquitoes are most active. Close all doors and be sure screens are in good working condition. At the Mosquito and Vector Control District, we're here to help. Visit us at fightthebite.net.
I want to take more.
One 1140. The Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross on Sactown Sports.
Well, we have sad news to announce. The Dodgers just posted that Vin Scully, the longtime broadcaster for the Dodgers, passed away today at the age of 94. And you don't have to be from the LA area to appreciate what that man did for not just baseball, but for all of the sports that he announced. And I know, Mike, that touches your heart.
Whew. I loved him. He taught me baseball.
Wow. Yeah, that was It was tough to hear. You're hearing clips also from the Dodger broadcast.
Yeah.
He taught me baseball was
Right.
probably the best way anyone could describe Vin
Well,
Scully.
I love what Kruko said during the game, too. He said his goal was to obviously be a major league. He wanted to have Vin talk about him. And he did when he became a baseball player. And he said back when Kruko was starting, you could still, a lot of people brought radios to the games and you could hear the radios. Like Kruko was warming up, he said, and he could hear some of the radios just enough coming back from commercial. And he heard Vin and he was like, this was my goal. Like, I'm on the mound and Vin Scully is waxing poetic about me.
Yep.
And whatever, four-seam fastball and whatever he would say in Vin's tone, like that was his goal. And that's, I mean, how surreal for Kruko like that. And that's awesome.
Imagine being a professional athlete or imagine being a broadcaster. That is so awesome. That is so legendary that you know that you would have, I'll bet you anything if we asked Mike Kruko, Kruk's mom or dad or brother or somebody at some point in his life, in his career, was sent a clip of Vin Scully talking about him.
Of course.
And it's just unmatched.
Yeah.
The connections between the Giants and Vin Scully go deep, going all the way back to New York when Scully was a Giants fan. His favorite players we mentioned earlier was Willie Mays, and of course you have the rivalry and everything throughout the years, all the brawls, all the home runs, all the walk-offs, just the whole story of one of the greatest rivalries in all of sports. Vin Scully was the narrator of pretty much all of that. But it wasn't always the play-by-play. As we check out in this next clip involving a San Francisco Giant, it was sometimes, as we spoke earlier, Vin doing his research, which I have no idea where he got some of these anecdotes, including this one, and during the game, able to give you a little background on a player like Bumgarner right here.
Bumgarner tells a story which, in a sense, reminds you of what it takes to be a big league ball player. It's 2 years ago in spring training, and he and his wife were roping cattle, which is what they do. 1-1 pitch, sinker low, ball 2-1, and they were startled by a large snake. And Madison thought it was a rattlesnake, so he grabbed an axe and he hacked the snake to pieces. But there's something more to the story. 2-1 pitch. Low, ball 3-1. When his wife Allie and an expert field dresser examined what was left of the snake, she found 2 baby jackrabbits inside pieces of the snake and extracted them. 3-1 pitch to Turner, way inside, ball 4.
3-1.
And after she extracted them a short while later, the Bumgarners noticed that one of the rabbits had moved slightly. It was alive. Well, his wife brought the rabbit back to their apartment. For the next few days, they kept it warm, bottle nursed it, and the rabbit soon was healthy enough that they released it into the wild. And Madison said, just think about how tough that rabbit was. First, it gets eaten by a snake. Then the snake gets chopped to pieces. Then it gets picked up by people and lives. It's all true. Meanwhile, line drive base hit to center by Hendrick, and the Dodgers are in business, first and second and nobody out. So I guess really the morale to the whole story about the rabbit and the snake, you've got to somehow survive. You've got to somehow battle back. A lesson well taught for all of us.
Just the way you're talking about a pitcher hacking open a snake, finding a baby rabbit, 2, one dead, one not. They nurse the baby back to health. And just the little guys, it's the nuggets in there that his wife was an expert field dresser.
Of course she was, and he found that out.
And of course he found that out and was able to weave this whole thing amongst pitches, base hits. We missed none of the game, but it's like we're sitting on a couch with our, I guess then grandpa, watching the game while he's telling us stories.
And they're not boring. I don't even know how else to describe that. Like at times you're like, wait, I want more of the story. Wait, I want more of the baseball game. Wait, I'm getting both. Wait, he's doing it perfectly. I'm not going to tell him how I'm feeling because I'm going down each lane in a comfortable way. He's just taking us through. And Dave, I mean, obviously we played some football and he was really good at football. I just think baseball and him were perfect partner because the nature of the sport and the way he could deliver that, all those different things while describing the game, he was perfection.
I agree with you. I think I'm sure he could have done it. In fact, I'm sure he probably did. But, Vin Scully doing basketball, Vin Scully doing hockey, like I said, I obviously could do those fine. But not it's almost like a waste of Vin Scully's talents. Football, great, wonderful, super. And he was great at it. But you're right. The thing about baseball is that it's a different play-by-play call, especially on the radio, than any other sport. There are pauses. There is very little action. I think, what did we read one time in your average 3.5-hour game? There's 7 minutes of actual ball on the field. So you have to, unlike football where, okay, play 45 seconds, play 45 seconds, play 45 seconds, break. You have to be able to keep people enthralled, entertained, and really not in a, you can entertain people with comedy or drama,
right?
No, he would just sit back, relax, invite you to pour a glass of Bartles and James chilled on the porch.
That's exactly what he invited you.
100%, and just listen to him. And I don't. There's other fantastic announcers, and we're going to mourn other announcers when they pass, some of the all-time greats. But with Vin, it was something where you listen to him and you go, oh, you know what? It's not complicated what he's doing, but the difference between understanding what Vin Scully did and being able to replicate what Vin Scully did,
that's it.
No chance.
Yeah, made it look easy, sounded easy for us. Easy listen, right? He's an easy listen. And I was thinking about that. I heard Vin a lot more when I was younger. Hadn't heard him as much in the last, I don't know, when did he officially stop, Jay?
2016.
So let's say, Dave, from, I don't know, 2003 to 2016, obviously he's older, much older then. And I don't know, I hadn't heard stories of Vin, like, when people get older, a lot of times you're repeating stories or like, and if Vin even did, I'm sure he told it in such a way that like, oh, I've heard that one before. This is great. Let's hear this one again. I don't think he did that a lot. I think he always had new material, always could describe a game or a player in a different way, and just amazing.
Well, in the meantime, there was baseball yesterday. We talked to you a little bit about the Juan Soto move. He goes to the Padres. The Padres will at some point this year have Tatis, Soto, and Manny Machado in there as their middle of their lineup. Not to mention they've got other guys in that lineup that can do things. Their bully, their rotation. This is a team that now should be able to, provided they're healthy, stay on the field and go after any team out there. And for a Giants fan, you look at the Dodgers to your left and the Padres to your right, or more appropriately, you look up at the Padres and the Dodgers. And they really, Darren Ruff was traded yesterday.
Okay.
Some minor moves, but they still have Jock Peterson. They still have Carlos Rodon. The only thing with Rodon I could think, guys, is that they're fully planning on re-signing him and making him a piece of the future. I would have liked to have seen them sold a little more.
Yeah, I mean, now it's okay. We've seen the year before last year, this year. I don't know if everything just lined up beautifully because there was tough to tell the difference between the Giants and the Dodgers last year. It's not tough anymore. No. And with the Padres getting better, I mean, how do the Giants catch up? I mean, I just don't know, and I think they should have been more aggressive yesterday in moving some of those pieces.
We will take a break. When we come back, I'm really looking forward to this segment. Sandy Koufax pitched a perfect game. Vin Scully called all 4 of Koufax's no-hitters. This was, by all accounts, the coolest one, obviously. And we have the final inning for you as well, and still to come. Bill Buckner's error, Don Larson's perfect game, Kurt Gibson's home run, Vin Scully racing Jackie Robinson on ice skates. There's just so much more. We've got a ton of audio to come. We'll be right back after this.
The start of the NFL season is upon us, and Sactown Sports 1140 has all your coverage. Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, and of course, all the NFL action every Sunday. Your home for the NFL all season long. Sactown Sports 1140.
Sacramento. Doug Christie here for the
meets a Celtics broadcasting legend.
Celtics are going to go for the win. Everybody here at Golden One Center on their feet.
The Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross on Sactown Sports 1140.
All right, welcome back. We'll be back in studio tomorrow. And that will be the first time I think all three of us have been in studio in 7 years.
Yes.
Okay, no joke though. I want to say it was June.
There's no way.
It is
the whole month of July.
Well, think about it. I took the first week of July off.
Because you're always gone. Go ahead.
Then you got the COVIDs.
I did.
Jason got the COVIDs.
In Vegas, too.
In Vegas. And Jason was in Vegas.
And Jason was on vacation.
You were on vacation. I was vacation. Yeah, it's June.
Oh, my God. It's a full month we haven't been in studio. What are we going to do? Are we going to play spades or something? We play dice?
4, maybe 5.
I was hoping you'd bring your arcade stick in.
My you know what?
Paperboy.
It's been a while. Paperboy sucks on that thing. I love Paperboy.
Wow.
No, I love Paperboy. It's just you have to have the handlebars. You know what I'm saying? You have to have the handlebar.
Bring him in.
Yeah, get some of those too.
Okay, if you think I didn't look online for a handlebar,
no, I knew you looked.
100% did and couldn't find it. We have a lot of stuff for you still over the last hour 15. Hope you guys have all enjoyed. Listen, it's summer, and I don't want to say glad. How do I say this? If Vin Scully were to pass away, I would want it to be at a time of year like this. I would not want to try to fit Vin Scully passing away in the middle of football and basketball and God knows what. I am enjoying, and I hope the audience is enjoying, and I'm sure Jason, you and Jay are enjoying, that we can really do him the best respect we can by going through his career, and really much like, and we're nowhere near going to be as good at it, but maybe in a weird way trying to, if the baseball game is Vin Scully's life, that's on, or I guess this would be the way. The sports news we're dealing with today, that's the baseball game, and we're going to interweave it.
Yeah.
With what we really want to talk about, which is the story of Vin's life and the many, many moments. We already played the Hank Aaron audio, so much more. If we get in both of this segment, that's pretty crazy. One of these moments would be a career maker for somebody, just like the Hank Aaron call. We've got 2 in 1 segment. We'll start here. Last at bat, Sandy Koufax on the mound, looking to get a perfect game. And I want everybody, if you can, not just to pay attention to his call, but pay attention to what happens when Koufax strikes out the batter, and count to 41 in your head, because that's the amount of time Vin zips the lips and lets you be a part of the crowd cheering. Here's Vin calling Sandy Koufax's perfect game.
Los Angeles, California. And they go up to get it. 1-1 to Harvey Keene. Now he's ready. Fastball high, ball 2. You can't blame a man for pushing just a little bit now. Sandy backs off, mops his forehead, runs his left index finger along his forehead, dries it off on his left pants leg. All the while, Keene just waiting. Now Sandy looks into his windup, and the 2-1 pitch to Keene. Swung on and missed. Strike 2. It is 9:46 p.m. 2-2 to Harvey Keene. 1 strike away. Sandy into his windup. Here's the pitch. Swung on and missed. A perfect game. On the scoreboard in right field, it is 9:46 p.m. in the city of the Angels, Los Angeles, California. And a crowd of 29,139 just sitting in to see the only pitcher in baseball history to hurl 4 no-hit, no-run games. He has done it 4 straight years, and now he capped it on his 4th no-hitter. He made it a perfect game. And Sandy Koufax, whose name will always remind you of strikeouts, did it with a flourish. He struck out the last 6 consecutive batters. So when he wrote his name in capital letters in the record books, that K stands out even more than the OUFAX.
I mean, it's a masterclass.
It is. I wrote the line to describe it was swung on and missed, a perfect game. Now that's brevity. There's no waste. It's not a amazing turn of phrase,
no,
but it's perfect. as was the game. And then, as you said, Dave, he lays out. And on radio, that's so rare. Then he gets into the crowd, the time, the stats on Koufax. It's brilliant.
I thought the thing, and we all pick up, obviously, on the layout, 41 seconds. On radio, not on TV, where your eyes can take over your ears, but on radio. But it was I'm going to get it wrong, but you'll know what I'm talking about. He takes his left index finger and wipes his brow, dries it off on the left side of his hat. And just like, who picks up on that? And you can see Sandy Koufax, or whatever you imagine, if you're not familiar with how Sandy looked, what you imagine Sandy, a guy in a Dodger uniform on a beautiful day. You can imagine what he's exactly doing. His ability to paint the picture is something, and I would imagine somewhere there's some college that teaches a class on broadcasting, and there's got to be part of the curriculum is the Vin Scully method. It truly is, and we love doing this on the show, and longtime listeners will remember this. We love breaking down calls, and Vin Scully makes it unfair because there's no comparison. There's none, and that's a perfect example. And that was a long time ago. Still a long time ago, but not for guys like us, especially you and me, Jason. We remember watching this live. Jay, did you watch? That was
Koufax?
No. What? 86? No, you didn't.
88.
80. Was it 88?
Gibson?
That's
no,
right.
the Buckner.
No,
Buckner. No, I mean, I might have watched it live with my dad. I can't confirm.
Vin Scully calling one of the worst/best, depending on who you root for, moments in sports history. And again, the beauty of this, now with the Sandy Koufax perfect game, you know where it's going. You can prepare for it. He may lose the perfect game, but you know what's going to happen if it happens. With something like this, no one expected it. You have to react in real time to the most unexpected thing. And here's how Vin Scully, calling the game for NBC at the time, pulled it off.
Little roller up along first, behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it.
Anyone else on that call? Maybe not anybody else, but 999 out of 1,000 play-by-play voices. I don't care who you are. That happens. Buckner boots it. They're screaming. Their voice is breaking. Buckner boots it. Buckner boots it. Knight coming around. He scores. It's madness. They're going crazy. And I'm not even saying it would be a bad call. I'm sure it'd be a fine call.
It's different.
Vin ground ball to first, through Buckner's legs. Knight around third. He scores, ball game, or whatever he said. I think he said like 10 words and then just shut up. And that is a technique that is unmatched.
Yeah, and he was doing national there. So, you could jump on the celebration of the Mets, the anguish of Buckner and the Red Sox, or just, you know what, you're watching. So I'll sit this one out. And I don't know if he did this. I know Grant told the story before with calls that he had to do, maybe like when Doug was starting, and if there was a great moment, he would literally almost like put his arm out like, hey, like just chill. Like I'm going to finish, let the crowd talk, and then, your time will come and and I'll jump back in. I don't know if Vin did that or if they talked before, but I don't know if that was Joe Garagiola or Tony Kubek or whoever else was in the booth with him back then, but no one else talked too. And that's not only credit to Vin, but to those guys as well.
It's funny you say that because it was a stroke of genius from Grant and why so many of those calls work so well. He did that with Jerry. He would put his hand on Jerry's arm and let the call lay out. And then when he took his hand off Jerry's arm, that's when Jerry would come in and do his thing. And he did the same thing with Doug. He put his arm out. And if you go back and you watch the clip of Bogdan Bogdanović hitting that three against the Lakers, you see the locally famous clip with the camera on Grant and Doug. And you notice that Doug at one point he's looking at the call at the court, and then he kind of moves his head around Grant's arm to like get a better view. That was Grant's arm out, letting it lay out on the plane. That's no disrespect to the analyst or anything like that. It's just a timing situation since you can't talk. And you're right. I don't know that Vin did that or not. My guess is he didn't. My guess is people just made sure
Nobody stepped on a Vin Scully call, dude.
You do not step on Vin Scully. We'll take a break. When we come back, we've got some quick notes on the NFL as well. We'll get to that. Some people in big trouble. And then Vin Scully again. Hank Aaron, Dwight Clark, Bill Buckner, Sandy Koufax perfect game. How about a Don Larson World Series perfect game? And we still haven't even gotten to racing Jackie Robinson on ice skates or Kirk Gibson's home run. Stick around. This last hour is going to be a lot of fun. We'll do that next.
You asked for more 49ers coverage, and Sactown Sports 1140 listen.
Let's go, Niner gang!
Get all the latest 49ers news and notes online at SactownSports.com. Plus, make sure to follow us on IG at Sactown1140 for Emil Fragoso's live post-game show following every game.
That is what we expect out of the Niner gang. Niners win!
Your home for the most 49ers coverage in Sacramento. Sactown Sports 1140. It's Sactown Sports 1140. It's the Carmichael Dave Show.
He's on the microphone when he's not on the microphone. He's playing a song, and when he's not playing a song, he's on the microphone, and then boom.
With Jason Ross.
Jay, hey, my headset's
text or call the show at 916-339-1140. It's the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross on Sactown Sports 1140.
And we are back. Welcome back as we do our tribute to Vin Scully. Welcome in, Jason Ross, Carmichael Dave, Jay Mars, all the way till 9 o'clock. Jim Rome will take over, and he'll take the baton, and eventually Cattles and Rami will have it this afternoon. I'm sure they'll be talking quite a bit about Vin Scully, as we are as well. Hey, Dan Patrick, I always love stealing from him because he's one of the best in the business. Great poll question today, and this was partially based on the suspension, fine, loss of draft pick. We'll get to that in a second for the Miami Dolphins when it came to tampering the allegations, which they were not punished for. The NFL did not find proof that they tanked games on purpose, as former coach Brian Flores said. But the question he has is this: which is worse, cheating in order to win a game or tanking in order to lose a game?
I mean, they're kind of one and the same almost.
Yeah, with different agendas, right? Your one is it's the same thing like when you see what do they have, those parlays, Dave? Like you try to win, or if you lose them all, I'm like, oh, I could lose all of them.
I have
the
same
answer. Idea. What is it?
It's cheating to win. Because when you cheat to win, you're screwing somebody else. Where when you cheat to lose, you kind of you tank, you're kind of just screwing yourself.
Yeah, but couldn't you be helping another team in an indirect way?
Yeah, you're helping them versus you cheated somebody else, I think is worse.
I'm saying, or hurting another team. So let's say you had to win. I don't know. The team that's tanking needed to win to help another team get in the playoffs.
Yeah, but who does that?
Mm-hmm. People that want the best draft pick.
No. I get that.
My Kings have done that a few times.
My point being is cheating, no matter what, if you cheat to win, you are directly hurting another team. Like directly versus, to your point, you might indirectly be hurting someone else. But I think directly doing it is worse.
Yeah, well, either way, the Miami Dolphins are in a bit of trouble as the NFL notified them yesterday the team would be stripped of their 2023 first-round pick, amongst other disciplinary measures for violations of league policies, following a 6-month thorough investigation, much like the one they're doing with the Commanders, I'm sure.
Yeah.
The league found the Dolphins, primarily team owner Stephen Ross and vice chairman Bruce Beal, violated the anti-tampering policy on 3 occasions from 2019 to 2022 in convos with Tom Brady and the agent for then New Orleans Saints coach, Sean Payton. Again, they did not find any evidence that they intentionally lost games. That one's tough to find, I'm sure. In addition to the first-round pick, the Dolphins also forfeit their 2024 first-round selection. Ross fined $1.5 million, suspended through October 17th. He will not be able to be at the Dolphins facility or represent them at a team event. He also can't attend any league meeting before the annual meeting in 2023. Beal was fined $500,000 and whatever. I mean, come on now, like whatever, like they care. Here's a question, guys: is that as far as it should have gotten? I mean, Brady and Peyton didn't do anything wrong, did they? Or did they by simply accepting the conversation?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like it's the Dolphins getting the look. It's almost, when a school gets in trouble and for a coach or a player, and then that player's long gone or the coach is gone, it's like, why are these other guys getting punished here? So, I mean, technically, if they were talking to Brady and Peyton, I don't know if they should have been suspended or penalized, but nothing's happening to those guys at all.
And they're the ones that, and they participate. I mean, at some point, Tom Brady's on a boat or whatever it was, talking to the owner of another team who's pitching him to be a part of the ownership group.
That's right.
I mean, that's not fun. But it's not like Tom Brady's ever been accused of anything.
No, pretty clean record.
The only thing Vin Scully has ever been accused of in his life was being the best play-by-play voice that ever lived. What did you say? What was it? 60? How many? 67 years?
Yes, of broadcasting.
That's it.
So, and transcending so many. I mean, really 3, if not 4, full generations of baseball. And when you have a guy that was doing it all the way up to 2016. That was, we all remember calling games very, very clearly, to a guy that was on the call in the World Series when Don Larson pitched a perfect game. Here's the call right here.
Got it. The greatest game ever pitched in baseball history by Don Larson. A no-hitter, a perfect game in a World Series. Never in the history of the game has it ever happened in a World Series. Only the second time in baseball history, a World Series, where a perfect game has been pitched. 64,517 have seen it. Millions more on television. Don Larson pitches a perfect game, retiring 27 Dodgers in a row. The history of the other perfect game and many other baseball facts found, of course, in the Encyclopedia of Baseball. But here at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx in New York, the most dramatic baseball game ever played. In 1947, Bill Bevins came so heartbreakingly close to pitching a no-hitter and didn't do it. But no man has ever pitched a perfect game in a World Series. Only one perfect game has ever been pitched, but that was in the course of the regular season. But when you put it in a World Series, you'd set the biggest diamond in the biggest ring. And so hats off to Don Larson. No runs, no hits, no errors, no walks, no base runners. The final score, the Yankees 2 runs, 5 hits, and no errors. The Dodgers no runs, no hits, no errors, in fact, nothing at all.
That was 66 years ago.
Yeah, and when you were talking earlier in the show, Dave, about there's an old timey cadence back then, and he doesn't have that.
No. He that call still. Listen, the broadcast quality at the beginning, it was very difficult to hear him because of the way microphones were, and some of that stuff wasn't. All of that stuff wasn't his fault at all. But if you were able to, much like in music, if you were able to separate tracks and you could just isolate a cappella Vin Scully's call there and improve the quality, and you throw it into a call today. You're getting a contemporary call. Keep in mind, by the way, as he passed away at 94, he was 28 years old. Wow. 28 years old when he called the Don Larson perfect game. Incidentally, here's an anecdote. It was in Mickey Mantle's autobiography, The Mick. He said that he and Don Larson, Whitey Ford, and I forget the others were out drinking pretty heavily the night before, shockingly. And Don Larson was incredibly hungover for the game. And then when Yogi Berra caught that final pitch and ran up to hug Don Larson, and it's funny, if you watch the replay, you can see this. Yogi Berra, when he jumped into Don Larson's arms, he kneed him right in the cajones.
Yeah.
Hard. And Larson was in a tremendous amount of pain, as he told everybody later in the clubhouse. He was in a tremendous amount of pain during the crunch there, because literally he'd had his crunched as well. And that, I do not fault Vin Scully. He couldn't see that. Otherwise, he probably would have called that well, too.
The baseball gods surely are something, right? And we all, if you're a baseball fan, you definitely believe in the baseball gods. It's crazy how many moments like that the Dodgers were on the other end of that Vin Scully was calling.
Yeah.
And it was almost like they wanted the Dodgers to be on the other end so Vin Scully could call some of these great moments. The Larson perfect game.
Yeah.
The Hank Aaron home run, that was against the Dodgers. Vin Scully's calling the game for the Dodgers. Reggie Jackson hitting 3 in October against the Dodgers.
Yes.
Vin Scully on the call. And it's just like, man, that dude has seen so much from the other side and so many painful memories as a Dodgers broadcaster, but you listen to him call it with such grace for the other team, whether it was Larson, Hank Aaron, Reggie Jackson, just really spoke to just truly understanding the moment.
And you segue perfectly, because our next moment happened to be a moment that is one of the greatest in Dodger history. And not only is Vin Scully on the call, but Vin Scully's on the call on national television. He is the play-by-play voice of the Los Angeles Dodgers, calling this from a national point of view, which means that in this case, and apologies in advance, trigger warning, A's fans, you know what clip we're about to play here. The thing about Vin is that you could hear this call, which was in favor of the Dodgers, or the previous calls, as you mentioned, whether it was Hank Aaron or Don Larson, and you can't tell which side he's on. You can't tell there's an allegiance one way or the other. So many times we have announcers, Joe Buck amongst all, that are accused of being homers for the team that they work for. Not in Vin's case. Here we are, Vin Scully, Los Angeles Dodgers, Oakland Athletics, Dennis Eckersley on the mound, and Kirk Gibson limping to the plate.
Team right now is at the plate. High fly ball into right field. She is gone. In a year that has been so improbable, the impossible has happened.
First off, iconic line at the end there.
Yes.
Secondly, a 14-second layout after that play. And really, honestly, you can make an argument that he would, reserve's not the right word, but, you heard the Larson call, the Hank Aaron call, all that. This is an iconic call, and it was in favor of the Dodgers. You can go crazy. There was no homer in there at all. And I don't think a single Dodger fan would ever complain about that call either. He just did it right.
No, and again, he had the knack for knowing the gravity of that moment and still capturing it without screaming, yelling, putting his emotions in it, but still putting his intellect behind it to deliver the goods. I mean, that's just how he did it.
Hello to everybody on the YouTube chat. Sactown Sports 1140's YouTube channel, always open for you, not just with the live shows, but so much other content that our digital guys are doing such a fantastic job putting up. As we take a break, Ryan in Sactown, who always shows up, and we appreciate that. He asked a question. I'm going to disagree with him, though. He says, can you imagine a John Madden and Vin Scully booth? I can, and I wouldn't want it. You're talking about two icons that were so wonderful, and John Madden fit perfectly with Pat Summerall because Pat Summerall knew how to get out of the way. Nobody fits with Vin Scully because you don't want anybody in the way. And I get where it is. I get why Ryan would say that, but for me, I feel like it's like mixing a world-class white wine with a world-class red wine. I think world-class on their own. So we'll take a break. Our Vin Scully tribute continues. Did you know he raced Jackie Robinson in his prime on ice skates? And, of course, you probably knew Vin Scully was there for Fernando Mania, yet another huge moment in sports history, and Vin was on the call. We've got more audio from him next.
Breaking news, the latest happenings with your favorite teams.
You ever wonder about what the heck all these kids are doing on the computers all the time?
Stay up to date with all of it by following us on Instagram and Twitter.
Excuse me, gentlemen, a little update for you.
At Sactown 1140.
What's your favorite James Bond movie? The Esquire IMAX Theater in
Town Sports 1140.
We have throughout the show been talking about Vin Scully, celebrating the life of Vin Scully. If you're just joining us and you have had your phone, TV, and doors closed for the last 12, 18 hours, whatever it's been, Vin Scully passes away at 94. There is no more iconic voice in all sports. Certainly Ernie Harwell, Al Michaels, Keith Jackson, Brent Musburger. There's other tremendous voices. I don't know that there's another Vin Scully, and this has been a terrible week. Nichelle Nichols passes away, who was an iconic TV character who played Uhura on Star Trek, and you're sandwiched in between Bill Russell and Vin Scully. They say, the old saying is they always come in threes, and I hope in this case that is correct, because we have lost enough icons for the rest of the year. I would say let's go ahead and shut down 2022. We're good, and enough to be able to remember. We would still be talking about Bill Russell, and of course, with Vin passing, one thing that I've really enjoyed today, in addition to reminiscing about him, and in addition to hearing him, Jason, is that as I said at the beginning of the show, it's three different perspectives. It's your perspective as somebody who grew up listening to him, and also as somebody who is in the professional business as a play-by-play voice. It's my perspective as a Giants fan, lifelong, who can't stand the Dodgers, but having Vin Scully transcend that and also be the author of one of the greatest calls in 49er history when it came to Dwight Clark. And then, of course, Jay Mars, who is a lifelong Dodger fan. And to him, Vin Scully is every bit his Gary Gerald, or whatever you want to attach to that for your favorite team. This is the part I enjoy through a lump in the throat when somebody passes away. It's the celebration of everything they did.
Yeah.
One of my favorite stories about Vin Scully, though, maybe my favorite of the last 10 years or so. I want to point out, when this happened, he was 88 years old, and you need this context for a certain reason. So Vin loved the Dodgers. Vin loved his family, 5 children.
Yeah.
And Vin also had an affinity for Costco. Vin Scully loved Costco. It was like the greatest place in the world to him, to the point he would always talk about how overwhelming it was.
All right.
So Vin once called 6 World Series for the Dodgers, 1 in Brooklyn, 5 in LA. His first 5 rings, he gave each of his kids one of his championship rings.
Okay.
And then he wore the 88 ring. That was the one ring he wore, was the 88 ring. Now, let's tie the two together, Costco and the 88 ring. So at 88 years old, it's Christmas time, and him and his wife are going through Costco. They're just, they're loading up for the holiday. And so his wife points out just a big old monster rack of ribs and tells him to go get it. So imagine 88-year-old Vin Scully is over there in Costco bagging up massive ribs to cook on Christmas. Anyways, loads up, and he still, I guess he would say, him and his wife would load and unload their own stuff at 88. And Vin looks down. His ring is gone.
No.
And so, he gets home, and he's just trying to tell himself, it's gone. I'm never seeing this ring again. It's a piece of jewelry. He called Costco, talked to the managers, and they're looking for it. They can't find it. And out of nowhere, he hears this scream from the kitchen. It's his wife. His ring fell at the bottom of the bag of ribs from Costco.
What?
Retrieve the ring and breathe a sigh of relief.
Nice.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Can you imagine going into a Costco and finding Vin Scully's championship ring in the rib section?
Yeah, there's an 88 World Series ring at the bottom of ribs.
Yeah.
Here's my question for you, Jake, because you're the Dodger fan and you're the only one that would be able to answer this.
Yeah.
What do you put it on eBay for?
I don't put it on eBay. That's one of those. Okay, so you laugh, but real talk. That's Vin Scully's ring. You're giving it back because 100%. Of the karma that will come your way if you do not.
1 trillion%.
Now, I'm going to ask him for an autograph on a baseball in exchange, and I think that's a fair deal.
You know what? You go to his house, you knock on his door, say you find his ring. You're probably invited over. You're eating the ribs. He's telling you stories. You're meeting his wife. Like you're a family friend, I'm guessing.
Oh, God, yeah. And he seems like the type that would invite you right in for milk and cookies, right?
I feel like he'd invite you in, and I don't know why. It's just instinct. I feel like I'm either eating a tuna fish sandwich or an egg salad sandwich on toast with a nice iced tea out on the back porch. I don't know why. That's just the meal I think I'm having with Vin Scully.
I think Zebra actually put it best. Vin definitely struck me as an Arnold Palmer, easy for me to say, kind of guy.
Yeah, sure. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I have no idea, but it wouldn't surprise me if he didn't drink either.
Yeah.
I
I don't know, dude. He was calling a baseball game in the 50s.
That's also, and that's, I mean, it goes without saying with Vin Scully too, but other than bringing up that Hank Aaron as a black man was getting a standing ovation in the Deep South, if you want to go ahead and call that controversial, which for some people it was at the time, no controversies, no scandals,
right?
No, nothing with Vin. We've been talking all day about who he was as a play-by-play voice as in his job. Also universally regarded as like the nicest man in the world. And it's so funny because there's something to that, I think. Like when you take our own Gary Gerald.
Right.
And what do we always say? If somebody doesn't like Gary Gerald, that they have an issue. Like that's their fault. You know for a fact that there's something wrong with that person.
Correct.
Because Gary's the nicest guy in the world. There's got to be something to what a great life to have that kind of outlook. Wake up every day with a smile. I'm sure of course he went through tough times and heartache and this and that, whatever. But it just seems like if you wanted to live a life, boy, you couldn't do much better than Vin.
Yeah, he nailed it. He figured it out. He figured out life.
He also had quite a few stories that he could tell. Here's one you want to talk about again, how he transcended generations. His good friend Jackie Robinson, along with Jackie's pregnant wife, Vin and his wife, they went on vacation and hilarity ensued, and it involved ice skates. Here's Vin Scully.
Did I ever tell you about the time Jackie and I raced each other on ice skates? No, well, I'm not going to tell you now, but that's going to be hit into right field. Ethier on the run, kicks it off. One away. So Connor Gillespie, and out to right, and Barry Zito coming up. What happened was Rachel and Jackie and I were going up to a resort in the Catskill Mountains a long, long time ago. Being a kid from the East, I had ice skates. Jackie and Rachel said, "Oh, you're going to go skating?" I said, "Yeah." They said, "We'll go with you." Oh, I said, "That's great." Now, the only problem was Rachel was about 7 months pregnant. Sure enough, she got ice skates. Now, Jackie is putting his skates on alongside of me in the dressing room. And he said, "When we get out there, I'd like to race you." I said, "Jack, I didn't know you ice skated. You're from Southern California. I knew football and baseball, but I didn't know ice skating." Squirts down to Gordon. 2 out. Anyway, I said, "I didn't know you ice skated." And Jackie said, "I've never been on skates in my life." So I started to laugh. I said, "Hey, Jack, come on, let's face it. I mean, I'm not a great skater, but I can skate." He said, "I know." But I said, "I want to race you because that's how I'm going to learn. And if you've never been on ice skates and you put skates on, the first thing you do is walk on your ankles." And sure enough, he was running on his ankles on the ice trying to beat me. But what was as memorable and scarier was Rachel. She was on the ice with a girl whose name I believe was Maureen Millerick, an Olympic skating star. And there was Rachel, 7, 8 months pregnant, kind of mincing around on her ice skates. I had my heart in my throat. But anyway, there aren't very many people who can say, "Oh, sure, I raced Jackie Robinson on ice."
Vin could.
Did he win? I assume he won.
Yeah.
You know how Vin never threw in whether or not he won. He let you assume.
Yeah.
He's skating. Jackie's on his ankles. You assume he won.
Right.
But I'm telling you right now, if I race Jackie, exactly. Come on, man. If we race Jackie Robinson in his prime on anything, I don't care if I was on a skateboard and he had bricks on his feet. I'm saying I beat him. And Vin's just like, nah.
I'll let you decide.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. I wouldn't have the energy to ice skate, dude. I've tried it before. I fall all over the place. If I needed to, if I was in that situation, I needed something, I would go to AmericanEnergy.com or AmericanEnergyAir.com, even better. That's the actual website, Dave. AmericanEnergyAir.com. Where right now they have their $2,500 rebate offer. Listen, now is the time to replace your system. Get a $2,500 rebate on a new home system installation with 0% financing and payment plan options available. So there is no reason to keep putting off making your home a place of comfort for you and your family. Now, this offer only goes to the end of the month, August 31st. Don't wait. Call today. They are local, thus the 916-520-9990, or visit AmericanEnergyAir.com. If you're looking to replace your system, now is the time to contact American Energy. Don't settle with a high quote from the other guys. If you're working with another HVAC system operator, thingy, whatever, listen, get your quote. That's fine. But go to American Energy. Let these guys see the quote. They'll give you a free quote on your system. You could save hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. And you know what? It's real simple. If they can't beat the quote, then go with the other place. But why would you not want to take 5 minutes and see if you can save quite a bit of money? The offer only goes to the 31st of August. Call right now to schedule your appointment at 916-520-9990. That's 916-520-9990 or AmericanEnergyAir.com. Tell them Carmichael Dave sent you. When we get back, more Vin Scully, Fernando Valenzuela's no-hitter, what made Vin fall in love with baseball, and Johnny Gomes and the Wolf, amongst other things. We got some great stuff the last half hour. Don't go away.
You want more Kings coverage? Sactown Sports 1140's giving it to you.
I like the Monk deal a lot. The Kevin Herter one, you got control of a guy who, around the league, people still think he's a pretty good player.
Impressions, let's start with the Kings' top pick, Keegan Murray. What do you think of him? And you obviously knew him well at Iowa.
Yeah, I thought he was terrific. I called efficient and versatile. He's going to make shots. He's an elite jump shooter.
Log on to SactownSports.com for exclusive content. SactownSports.com.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
It's the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross.
The only local sports show in the morning.
On Sactown Sports 1140.
There was a short chant, Pedro, Pedro, as they did in Boston in the '86 World Series to try and taunt Strawberry. And now they're doing it to Guerrero, hoping to distract him, hoping to upset him, hoping perhaps to make him try too hard. Fernando ready, and the strike 2 pitch is hit back to the box, dribbling to second. Samuel on the bag, throws to first, double play. Fernando Valenzuela has pitched a no-hitter at 10:17 in the evening of June the 29th, 1990. If you have a sombrero, throw it to the sky.
Great call.
Yes.
I know it sounds repetitive. Like, what are we going to be like? Well, it wasn't his best. It's just every, and I also, something else he does. It's neat too to pick up on little nuances. He almost always throws like the time date stamp in there as well. Like, this is a huge moment.
Yep.
You were a part of it because we're all family. And I want to make sure you remember the date and time you witnessed this amazing event.
Mm-hmm.
I was saying, sorry, I stepped on the clip before we came back here, before we played the clip, that I don't know, are any of you also craving a $1.50 Costco hot dog?
From our YouTube chatters?
I'm with them.
Yeah.
I'm with Darren. I'm with Mohammed. I'm with all those guys.
Yeah.
Is there a better culinary deal?
No.
It's pretty fantastic. All their stuff outside, right? And pizza pretty
Pizza,
affordable?
all their stuff's affordable, but that $1.50 hot dog and soda, man, if it's like the day before payday and you got $2, listen, you got a meal at Costco.
Yes.
There's a famous anecdote about that. The guy who started Costco, the head guy, who I think had since become like the chairman emeritus or something. They were in the new president of Costco was lamenting that the hot dog and soda, they were actually losing money on it. And so he wanted to raise the price, and he ran it by the founder. And this is a true story, look it up. The founder said to him, if you raise the price of the hot dog and soda, I will effing kill you.
Wow.
Said it right in a meeting.
You know what? We'll leave the price stable here.
Well, his point was this, and we'll move on here. His point was this. It doesn't matter if they lose money on it, because how many times
they got you.
Have you gone to get that hot dog and soda either on the way in or the way out of Costco? And as Ryan in Sactown so aptly said, yes, you do save money there, but you can't walk out of there without spending at least $100.
Right.
It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, sometimes it's $200.
I need 70 packs of lunch meat. I'll freeze them.
Yeah.
I need 89 eggs.
Yep. 45 pens. I don't know. You never know how many pens you might need.
One of the things that is so apparent about Vin Scully is that he had, well, I guess, let's see, 5, 6, 7 major loves in his life. You said he had 5 kids, I think.
Yep.
His wife and baseball. He had a love affair with baseball. You'd have to have a love affair with baseball if you called 67 years worth of baseball. If you just imagine that at 162 and do the math on top of playoff and World Series and blah, blah, blah. I mean, the amount of innings Vin Scully called is ridiculous. And he spoke in this next clip on what made him actually fall in love with baseball.
Yeah, the little kid, not quite 9, 8 3/4, leaving grammar school on his way home. And I went by a Chinese laundry. That's way outside, 2 balls and no strikes. And the line score of a baseball game was pasted on the window. And it showed game 2 of the World Series with the Yankees beating the Giants 18-4. As Turner fouls the ball back. There it was, game 2. Imagine a reserve seat cost $5. Well, anyway, as that little redheaded kid looked and saw, oh, wow, the poor Giants. That was my reaction. And so I became not only a Giants fan, but a big fan of baseball. And I was able to exercise my instinct. The pitch to Turner is away. 2-1, because my school was less than 20 blocks to the old Polo Grounds where the New York Giants played. And because I was a member of the Police Athletic League Catholic Youth Organization, I could game free from Monday to Friday. We got out of school at 2:30. The Giant games were 3:15. And so I could go to the ball game. And so I just fell in love with baseball. Most of the time, I was in center field. Now, center field in the Polo Grounds was 483 feet away as Turner strikes out, 1 down. So I would sit in the bleachers and I would cheer and I would watch, and I just loved the Giants. Well, the point of the whole story is this. My first love was October the 2nd, 1936. Second game of the World Series. Today is October the 2nd, 2016. A lot of time has gone by. Exactly 80 years to the minute from that day.
Wow.
Who's going to string all that together?
Right.
80 years apart. And the math here is not going to be exact. But while Vin was talking, I decided to take 67 and multiply it by 162. That's 67 years of calling games, 162 games a season. That's 10,854 games. Now, that doesn't count spring training.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't count postseason. That doesn't count. Maybe you did an extra game in a week. I don't know. But I would say a conservative estimate would be that Vin Scully called 12,000 baseball games. 12,000 times 9 is 108,000 innings. And let's be honest, you got some extras in there. So I think very conservatively, and I guarantee it's more than this, he called somewhere probably in the neighborhood of 110 to 111,000 innings of baseball in his life.
I'm going to ask you this now. Take that number. What do you think the average baseball fan over their lifespan innings has seen when you compare the two?
All right. I can only take myself. I started watching baseball when I was 5. Let's say I live to be 75. That would be 70 years of baseball, of 162 games, full games per year, even counting my youth. I'll bet you I'll end up averaging somewhere around 50 per year. So 50 times 7. If I'm lucky,
you're killing that average now.
I'm killing
you're bringing it down a bit.
I'm just saying What
was the last complete game you watched?
Last year's final Dodger Giants.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good answer.
I mean, that was the last full game. I've not watched a full baseball game all year. But you guys, I mean, what are we talking? I mean, as compared to 108,000 or 12,000 games, maybe 3,000, maybe. I mean, in a life.
Right.
And by the way, we do this for a living, so we probably watch a little bit more.
Yeah.
One more clip here. Do we have time, Jay?
Yeah. Oh,
excuse me. Either of you. Yes.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. Now our next 2 clips are gonna be a little bit of fun. As we you can enjoy the the big moments, but you also can equally, if not more, enjoy the Vin Scully moments. This is him talking about Johnny Gomes. Johnny having a pretty tough life, including his interaction with a live wolf.
Johnny, to make the understatement of the day, has had a very tough life. We can give you maybe 1 or 2 stories. We don't want to get into too much of the privacy area. Let's start when he was 12. He was doing work on his grandmother's house, and a hired hand showed up with a wolf on a leash. Here's the 2-0 pitch, 2-1. Anyway, Johnny loved dogs. He had never owned one, though he had no idea about how serious a wolf might be. So he walked up to the wolf, and the man hollered at him, "No, it's a real wolf. Don't pet it." The 2-1 pitch in. Well, the man ties up the Wolf, goes around the corner to mend defense, and Johnny goes back to the Wolf, saying something like, "Oh, I'll talk to him and it'll be great." And the Wolf attacks him, has knocked him down on his chest, just about ready to devour him. 2-2 pitch, check swing, no swing, ball 3. Johnny suddenly, totally and completely relaxed. He was done. He knew it. And whatever he did by relaxing, the Wolf decided, I don't have a rival here. And the Wolf got off his chest. Johnny got up and walked away. Ground ball by the diving Turner, and the base hit by Johnny Gomes. So a 1-out single left by the Wolf man. And
Only Vin.
Yeah.
That's what he picked. Only Vin. We got to take a break. When we come back, man, this show has flown. This has been one of my favorite shows in a very long time, again, with a lump in the throat, but I've really enjoyed, and I hope you all have too, celebrating the life of the great Vin Scully. We've got a very special clip that we'll sign the show off with, but before that, Vin Scully, and this might be my favorite Vin Scully clip that wasn't play-by-play, he's going to read a fan's grocery list, and it's still enthralling. We'll do that next.
Check out the Golf to Go Hour with Frank LaRosa every week on Sactown Sports 1140. Get the latest on equipment, area courses, people that play the great game, and plenty of good conversations about golf. It's the Golf to Go Hour with Frank LaRosa. Friday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturday morning from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Sactown Sports 1140. Golf to Go is brought to you by the Hagen Oaks Golf Super Shop, America's most awarded golf facility, and Naturewood Home Furnishings, where it's all about choices and always about quality, and Safe Credit Union. Let us put you first.
I'm Ken Korak with your Green and Gold Report, brought to you by
what's hot.
Yeah, hot. Real hot.
And what's not.
It's not good.
Brought to you by American Energy Air and Solar, Sacramento's complete heating and cooling company, and second opinion partner.
Who's hot? Jacob deGrom last night in his first start of the season. 5 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run, and 6 Ks. Who's not?
Good for him. It's good. Baseball's better with him pitching.
Not with his bullpen, though. The Mets bullpen yesterday, 3 innings pitched, 5 hits, 4 earned runs, and 5 Ks. It's the 17th time over the last 5 seasons that deGrom has allowed 1 or 0 earned runs, and the Mets have lost most of any pitcher in the league.
Woof.
Well, this isn't, your father's Mets in the sense that this is one of the better teams in baseball. The new owner, Steve Cohen, spent a ton of money on that. But I wouldn't put deGrom in that category now. But for most of his career, he kind of has been in that Ohtani Trout type of. This is a transcend. This is, to me, if healthy, I don't know that it's particularly close that he's the best pitcher in baseball.
I agree.
And to have him, waste away on the Mets, you wonder if that'll change. Now, I want a couple of things here real quick, because we're going to focus so much, as we have been, on Vin Scully. A couple of notes outside of Vin Scully. Today is a birthday. I'll just normally, Jason, that's your world, but one birthday today. Happy 45th to Tom Brady, 7-time Super Bowl champion, 3-time MVP, and going to try to do it again next year at 45 years old. So, your thoughts, everyone?
Yay, Tom.
Happy birthday, Tom.
In 1998, Tom Ziller, who's done so much good work here locally, and now with his Substack, he points out an interesting note. 1998, the Bulls paid Michael Jordan $33 million. That was 3.5% of all NBA player salary paid that year. The equivalent one-year salary in 2022, $115 million per year. The highest paid player will be Steph Curry at $48 million. So
not that close to that number.
So Steph's poor is what you're telling me.
Yeah, poor Steph. A couple of other notes there. Back to Vin Scully. In April 1960, the first Major League Baseball game Vin Scully called. There were 6 future Hall of Famers. It was between the Brooklyn Dodgers and the Philadelphia Phillies, and it was the first game back for a name you may not know, a guy by the name of Eddie Waitkus. Eddie Waitkus was a Philadelphia Phillies infielder who was shot the year before. The real-life Roy Hobbs. That was his first game he called. Also, April 12th, 1947, we said this earlier, the Yale Bulldogs defeated the Fordham Rams 3-1. Vin Scully played center field, had 4 putouts in center field, but went 0 for 3. He was pinch hit 4 in the 9th. Yale won the game, even though their first baseman went 0 for 3. He would later go on to do a couple of things, that first baseman on that Yale team, George H.W. Bush. So there's
what was he famous for?
Oh, he did a couple of things here and there.
It'll come to me. I don't remember.
He's like the president of like the Veterans Club or his local.
Could have been some sort of president.
Let's see. This is one of my favorite Vin Scully clips. A fan sent him in a grocery list.
Yes.
Asked him to read it on the air. Vin Scully got the grocery list and he read it on the air. Here it is.
Sure, Andy, I'd be happy to. Well, let's see. We've got a dozen eggs, a quart of milk, a loaf of bread, a can of frozen orange juice, 6 small white onions, a green pepper, garlic powder, a package of American cheese, pickles, kosher that is, bananas, cornflakes, maple syrup, toothpaste, paper towels, toilet paper, 6 bars of soap, hot dogs, quarter pound of chopped meat, steak, lamb chops, package of spaghetti, 3 apples, bologna, cottage cheese, a pound of butter, 2 ears of corn, beer, ketchup, peanut butter, soy sauce, and a half a pound of coffee.
Wow, Andy was busy.
Yeah,
Andy was very busy.
Bologna.
Bologna. That's a very
Love me some bologna.
That's an eclectic mix of
kosher, of course, on the pickles.
Well, this has been in the middle of the summer, in the dog days, if you will. We discussed a number of things that if the icon and legend Vin Scully was going to pass, would rather it be here rather than in the middle of all kinds of sports. It would have just felt, even today when we're talking about the Soto trade and different things going on in sports, as much as we minimize that, it still felt extremely out of place. The through line has been Vin Scully, and guys, I've really enjoyed celebrating the man and also celebrating his profession.
Oh, for sure. We got a few more here, Dave. I don't even think we had on the list that I'd like to get.
Great.
Yeah. Let's see. One just kind of more of a human touch. We talked about all these highlights and great calls he's had. How about being on the other end? Here's Clayton Kershaw describing Vin calling his no-hitter.
We were watching some stuff in there about all the people that he's called no-hitters, perfect games, World Series, all these things. And for me to be a very tiny, small part of that is really cool.
I mean, honor, right? Yeah. I mean, forever. I mean, obviously he did the achievement, but to have Vin Scully call it has to be great. This one's, I haven't heard it. Might be a little heavy. Vin Scully announcing the passing of John Wooden.
Friends, I interrupt the ball game and I come to you with a heavy heart. Make the announcement that at 6:45 p.m. tonight, Coach John Wooden passed away at Ronald Reagan UCLA Hospital. The great coach at UCLA was 99 years old, would have been 100 in October. Those of us who knew him and knew him well are the ones who were blessed by his life. And as usual, when it gets down to it, Shakespeare said it best. His life was gentle and the elements so mixed in him that nature might stand up and say to all the world, this was a man. And you know, John was a big baseball fan, so I know he does not want you to be down. He wants you to get back to the ball game. That's exactly what we'll do in his honor.
Wow, that was awesome.
I want to read you real quick. This was sent by our friend Scott Navarro, one of our salespeople who played minor league baseball. One of his friends who played Major League Baseball, Mike Gallo, made a Facebook post. And we've kind of talked today about like whether it's the Johnny Gomes Wolf thing or all these different, like how does Vin know this stuff? I thought this was interesting, guys. This is from Mike Gallo, former Major Leaguer. When I was called up in 2003, I was beyond pumped. I immediately checked the Astros schedule for the next month. I was looking for one series. Yes, the Dodgers. Didn't really care if it was in LA or Houston. I wanted to meet Vin. We got LA at home first. We just wrapped up a series with the Cubs in Chicago and Cincinnati. On the plane ride back to Houston, I made a beeline to our media director and told him I have to meet Vin Scully. He said, no problem. I arrived at Minute Maid Park super early. I felt like it was Christmas. I took the elevator up to the visitors' media room, and there he was, the legend, Vin Scully. I shook his hand. I gave him a hug. He was like my grandpa. I grew up with his voice. The way he called the game. Vin asked me, so what was Chicago like? I told him I took a carriage ride with Kristen down Michigan Avenue after a dinner. He lit up. We talked some more, and he loved that I was a dirtbag from Long Beach. He signed a ball for me, and off I went. So that night I came in to pitch. My family recorded the game. As soon as I came in, Vin Scully talked on live TV about my carriage ride. As I'm facing the team I rooted for as a kid, he's talking about me and my experience in Chicago. Vinny will ever be with me. When we were in LA, I had to stop by and say hi again. Vin Scully is a legend. Rest in peace.
That's terrific.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Isn't that cool? You got more? You got another clip?
Yeah, here's one. Again, so he's national here doing 1988 NBC. It's Pirates and Cubs. Just take it away, Vin.
I'll tell you how things are going here in Pittsburgh, and it sounds like a far-fetched story, but it's a true one. The trainer of the Pirates, his name is Kent Biggerstaff, okay? And he has a French poodle, and the dog is 16 years old. This morning, the dog had a heart attack and was dying. Biggerstaff gave the poodle mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Took the dog to the vet, who said, yes, the dog did indeed have a heart attack. He has put the dog on some pills, and he just about brought the dog back to life, just as the Bucks are bringing the city back to life.
They are doing that, and there's a good
Did he kind of laugh in that story?
He did. He started to lose a little bit.
So good.
That's one of my favorite clips we've played.
Yeah.
The Giants, I haven't watched it all. I'm going to go back. I DVR'd it after the game. The Giants announcers will gather and do like a post game, and sometimes they'll go long. They don't really have a time on it. And last night they went extra long, and they were all just sitting around BSing and telling just amazing stories. The one that I thought was the one I caught that was hilarious is Dave Fleming, who's young and was very young when he first met Vin Scully. He said, my favorite Vin anecdote is it was in between innings. I had to use the restroom. I ran over to the media men's room, and I pop in there, and there at the urinal is Vin Scully, and he turns to me and says, "Hey, Dave, pull up a urinal." I don't know the timing on this, Jason. Why don't you lead us into this since you're in the room?
Well, I think we got a few minutes or a few seconds here to say goodbye, but I think the best way to say goodbye, Dave, is ultimately from Vin Scully. So if you want to say your parting shots, then we'll let Vin take us out.
Perfect. Okay, I'll wait for Jay in my ear as we try to get this timing right. Listen, special show. Thanks to everybody for putting this together. Thanks to Jay and Jason. God bless Vin Scully. Rest in peace. Here he is.
May God give you for every storm a rainbow, for every tear a smile, for every care a promise, and a blessing in each trial. For every problem life seems a faithful friend to share, for every sigh a sweet song, and an answer for each prayer.
Sactown Sports 1140 is broadcasting live on YouTube.
To me, it's a must watch.
Check out the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross and the Cattles and Rami Show.
Plus, get exclusive content.
Search Sactown Sports 1140 on YouTube.